Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Do We Know Them?
Brace yourselves. Just relax. Everybody relax. Take a deep breath. Girlies who don't like change, it's going to be okay. I promise.
Welcome to episode 161. You may notice a few changes. One, we got our new chairs. We aren't positive how we feel about them yet, and I kind of want to ask her opinion, but I kind of also don't.
I feel like you like them more than I do. I'm a little bit like, I don't know.
I mean, I'm not like, those are the best chairs I've ever seen.
I was previously sitting on a throne, if you will. Like, I was literally, it was so high backed. It was so, I just felt like I was being like consumed by it in a good way. It almost made me feel safe. And now I don't know what to do with my hands. We wanted to try out like the comfy, even more we're in the room vibes. They usually have the same couch when you're in the same room. Surprise if you don't know, we're not in the same room, we're the same state. So, we're just trying
still tricking people.
Different things. I know we are.
I think for me, it doesn't feel as big of a difference because mine was about
yours
this size
was
before.
lower. Yeah, mine, and I am a giant. Okay, I mean, I'm not. I'm 5'11", 5'10", I don't know. I'm up there. So, I don't know. It is comfortable. It's fine. I'm not uncomfortable. It's just, change is hard. So, I don't know.
Well, and then also, did I acknowledge that I've switch sides again?
See, that's another thing. It's a lot. It's intense. I don't
We're
think
overwhelming you.
Most people know that I was always on the other side. What side of the screen? Okay, so I used to be on the right side of the screen, correct?
Yes.
When we started.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so then we switched.
Crap, and we switched sides. Ooh.
Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. There's a lot of change here, but this is season 2 of Do We Know Them? And we're just like revamping,
we needed a change, but we couldn't afford new chairs.
Yeah, the chairs are never going to change. I love how I was like, do you guys want us to match chairs? As if we were actually going to do that. It's just, these are the chairs we got. And then we also switched our setup, which would have meant that I would have had to switch sides, but I don't like that other side of my face, that being this side of my face.
The problem was that I moved, and the way my setup is, I was trying to make it so I didn't have to like move my stuff around every single time I came in the room, which I did have to do in the last place just because that room was small.
We had to switch sides because Lily moved.
Yeah, the room configuration it worked out better if
we switched sides. Side. So sorry if that bothers you. I'm pretty sure you'll get used to it. I didn't think it was gonna be a big deal. Then you tweeted it out and people were like, ooh, that's gonna take a while to get used to. And I was like, what?
Anyway, so this is what we're dealing with today. We might change it in the future, but we don't know. Be nice. And if you don't like it, at least be kind about it.
We will cry, okay? We can and we will. So
literally, it was like, this is the kind of things that will make us cry.
You could bully us all you want, but do not tell us our setup is, because you don't understand. We're getting it done, and usually I have to turn all the lights on, and then we're trying to figure it out. And it's just so hot. And I literally thought we're filming later than we were supposed to because I thought I was going to die. I was like, Lily, I feel like I'm having like a heat stroke. I'm going to throw up.
She literally was like, I got really lightheaded. I need to go downstairs. And like, I was even setting mine up with all of the air on and everything, which like, I don't have great air in this room to begin with. But cords are my biggest nightmare. Like, they just get you so flustered and you're just
in between the cords and like every drink I've drank for the past like 3 weeks on the floor, I can't.
I have started moving out my Trulies after the incident.
That's growth. The fact that she allows that because she doesn't get that treatment because she's Lizzo is like fucking sickening. Hello? Oh, did you just drink an old Truly? Mm-hmm. I'm actually going to throw up. That we filmed like a week ago. I cannot. I'm going to throw up. Are you going to swallow it? Oh my God.
I didn't know it's you. I didn't know.
I'm going to fucking vomit.
Oh my God. I think I might die.
Oh my God. What if it had like mold?
It tasted like it did.
I love that. Well, mine are empty. I always just drink the whole thing. So I just like leave the can.
I'm like, I guess good and bad that I don't drink the whole thing, but then it is gross to leave them behind. Although I did spill my new Truly because one of the cords fucking knocked it over. But luckily it didn't spill in my laptop like it did that one time, which then left me with no screen.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Something also that kind of is, making me a little uncomfortable is like normally you guys don't see what I wear on the bottom and you're not going to like fully see what I'm wearing, but I can no longer wear my jammies and that's sad.
Well, you should do what I just wear leggings all the time.
Yeah, I guess I suppose I could.
Which
do
like
that.
I'm wearing like workout pants now, but they're just black, so it's like not like, oh, what is she wearing? Mm-hmm. It's just more discreet.
I don't know. We should just get a uniform so I don't have to worry about like what to wear.
And I'm wearing these high-waisted ones from Target. You guys, I highly recommend it. They really just suck you in.
I should get some of those. I'm still wearing my maternity leggings.
Oh, you just wear a trash bag like my friend did to Missy.
Oh, how was Missy Elliott?
It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But we're old.
Okay,
Like,
period.
so old.
Honestly.
And we don't
That's
do
the first step is
anything.
recognizing it. Mm-hmm.
Well, and we were like so pumped and we were so excited and we were like all in such a good mood. So it was Missy Elliott, but then also she had Busta Rhymes and Sierra come. Who, great, lovely. Timbaland came too, but that we didn't get to see him because he like opened. Like it was like while people were sitting down.
Not them doing Timbaland dirty.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I would have much rather watched
They're just
Timbaland
like, can you
than
sing by the front entrance
Busta
while people are
Rhymes.
coming
No offense
in?
to
Like
Busta
when you
Rhymes.
go to a cruise.
We heard Promiscuous playing. We were like, Nelly Furtado wasn't there though. So that would have been really upsetting if we missed that. But anyway, so Busta Rhymes was on for, in my opinion, way too long. No offense to Mr. Rhymes. Not only did that last too long, but then Sierra comes on. My issue there, though, was we're already kind of like, okay, like, can Missy come on now? I think it was her second to last song, or maybe her last song, was 1 2 Step, which, notably, features Missy Elliott. They didn't have Missy Elliott do her verse on 1 2 Step.
It is a predicament because it's an opening act.
So
and
she
if
needs
Missy
to do
Elliott
her
got on
grand
stage,
entrance.
It would be the open.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But she came back at the very end to do Lose Control.
Oh.
Sierra did. So,
okay.
why wouldn't you just wait and do 1 2 Step then? Because Missy's verse in 1 2 Step is iconic.
Yeah.
So when that happened, that immediately I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like that very much
Who's running
upset
this
me.
show?
Literally.
Yeah.
And then Missy doesn't come on until, I think we got there at around 7. Missy didn't come on until like 10.
Oh, I would be sleeping on the floor. Yeah.
So literally, we were like, how are we going to? I'm so tired. Like, and also Missy Elliott, she has had songs for the last like 3 decades, basically. Most of them we're familiar with, but some of them not as much when they like were like when we were not even born yet. But I was like, of course, Googling the like set list to see like what's coming next. And there was like a block of them where we like weren't super familiar. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to fall asleep. What? Like, I don't know what to do. Then the good news is that this was very bittersweet because we were so tired and we were like, how are we going to last? So it was good news that all of the songs she did were like 30 seconds. Like she didn't do full versions of any of them. But then at the same time, I didn't come there to see Busta Rhymes and Sierra. I would have much rather seen Missy do her full songs for the entire time.
Right, yeah.
So it was good that it got through the parts that we like weren't super passionate about. But then also it would get to the songs we do like. And we're like, well, what the fuck? It's over already? So yeah, she was amazing.
So
like,
you hated it,
literally,
is what you're trying to say.
I hated the choices that were made for like
I'm
the set
disappointed
list
in the
and the
choices.
layout.
Yeah.
But Missy was like phenomenal. Like
Okay.
the dancers, like everything, her outfits were insane. It wasn't everything I hoped it would be. I just would have rather it been like more Missy and not so much a 3-hour like
You know what's so funny?
prelude.
I just saw a comment the other day of someone saying, dude, literally anything they mention, like Jessie has a story or like a reference for. And this just proves that. Although it's not my life, it's my dad's life.
You said that about me too, though. I feel like we both have just
For sure. A lot of anecdotes. My dad was obsessed with Seinfeld he still is. Like he can tell you every episode of Seinfeld ever. And so he liked, I was going to say Jerry Springer. No, Jerry Seinfeld. He really liked him. And at one point he said that was his favorite comedian. Now, I think he was literally saying that because he likes Seinfeld and he likes how he did in that show. Anyway, one day my brothers bought him a ticket to see Jerry Seinfeld like do comedy. My dad fell asleep.
Oh, like a stand-up.
Yeah. You at the Missy Elliott concert.
Well, and that's the thing. We weren't falling asleep during Missy Elliott. It was during the other parts. But
yeah, for sure. But there's a lot of things that go into a show. Like sometimes you like elements of what a person can do and you don't like others. And that's fine. Like if we do a tour, people may fall asleep. You know, it just is what it is.
I'm always like, what would we even do on a tour? I don't understand.
I always find it interesting when podcasts go on tour because I'm like, well, what do you just talk? Like, is that it? But I guess no, there's things they do, right?
Yeah, no, and I'm not even trying. I definitely am not shitting on when other podcasts do. I just particularly, I don't know. I feel like we would just be like having panic attacks the whole time.
Literally, that would be our show. Us crying, sweating. Anyway, don't hold your breath. So we have a lot to cover. I don't know why we're yapping so much because we have so much to cover.
I don't know. This is like literally the 3rd episode we've opened with Missy Elliott. Everyone's like,
oh my God, I know. Yeah, this is the end of the saga. Okay, she went. That's how it went. Okay,
yeah.
Bye. I guess we do have topics that we want to cover, but we really quickly have to address a topic that like people are really wanting us to cover that we kind of covered, and it's becoming a thing.
Yeah, well, it became a thing. Literally, I woke up this morning and it had been covered like by 50 more people.
Yeah.
But so a lot of people the last episode, specifically, I think it's because we covered Tana.
Yeah.
In the last episode, that they were like, how are you focusing on this story with Tana when it's so stupid? Which We agree. It was stupid.
It was still fun.
No, but that plays into it too, is that we have also, so basically people were like, why would you cover that and not the much more serious thing going on with her and Cody Co? And there's several reasons. One of which is we've been pretty vocal, I feel like, and especially if you follow me on Twitter, you know, that we've been dealing with a lot of monetization issues with YouTube, to the point that like there was the cat episode we did with Reagan.
The entire thing's just mute.
Literally, and then people were so confused because they thought we were saying she like effed her cat, and we're like,
they're like, I thought she Shane Dawson the cat, but no,
like,
it was...
oh my god. But like we get to a point that we don't know, because YouTube doesn't tell you why they're demonetizing something, so it's really much
it's
like
so
it's
funny.
a guess
Our
and check
checks are
situation.
guessing. Literally, it's me and Lily sending words that we said or heard in our episode, and the last one she just sends me question mark.
I think that,
and I'm like,
I think that
we
must
to
have been
mute
it.
that. I literally think we had to mute that. I don't think I could even say that right now.
But the crazy thing is like we don't actually know if that's what it was, because
no,
one, they don't tell us, and two, it's not consistent. So like I've uploaded the exact same videos. The only thing that's different is the color. So the content itself completely identical, but one is monetized and one isn't. So you never know.
What I want to say too is when you get demonetized or when you get limited ads, it's not just we don't get paid, which yes, obviously when that happens back to back to back, really sucks for us. Like this
and we already took 2 hits last month.
Yeah, like we have people that work on the show, and like there's a lot riding on us being able to monetize our content. But besides that, it suppresses your content. Like it's not going to put you on the recommended page like it would with any other episode. And then you don't reach a lot of people, and that sucks too. So there's a lot of elements that go into it. But what I want to also say is that we actually did talk about this situation 5 months ago in our episode about JC Kalen being a creep. And the reason we talked about it is because I was talking about JC Kalen, me seeing him and Leah Marie Johnson. And I didn't know that they were not the same age at the time. Like they looked very similar ages, but he was older than her. I need to look more into that Leah Marie Johnson thing because that is like criminal.
I just saw a clip of when Tana was like 17, and it's a clip of her and Cody Co.
I've heard that recently too.
Apparently they hooked up, and I'm pretty sure she has said that, and he like literally just like had a baby and is happily married and everything. Yeah. And great. But this clip I saw, she gets up and she is 17 in the clip, and he's like 21 at least.
More than that, I think, because he's my age.
Okay, never mind then. I think he probably was closer to like 24 or 25. But she gets up, and it's not even like, oh, maybe he is just staring directly at her ass. And I'm like, oh.
I think that people would be surprised how often that happens. And when it's James Charles, we're fucking pouncing on his ass. And when it's other men, we're just like, okay, whatever. I know in their head, they were like, oh, we're influencers. Like, it doesn't really, like, I don't even think they thought of it like that.
I feel like it gets lost in this, like, how I've even described how Vine parties sound like it was just like college. Yeah. Like, I think that's kind of how people
like the Wild
West at it. And it didn't feel to them, and even to people watching probably, that it didn't seem like predatory because they're all friends and they all are kind of in the same world, but it technically it is. Yeah. Like that's not okay.
Yeah, to go through with something like that, even though you're both influencers, you're both in the same world, and it happens in Hollywood all the time too. Like how many Disney stars and shit have talked about things like that.
They're forced to grow up very quickly.
Yeah, because you're all in the same space. It's just like, okay, well, we'll just have sex. And it's like, maybe don't have sex with people that are underage.
Yeah. And then I brought up the Tana thing because she's been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
And that's not right. That's not correct. I know now. I was 17 at the time, 18. Like, that's not what you do. But at the time, it was just like, oh, you think I'm this and you're treating me and calling me all these names. And so I started kind of hooking up with other people. Shout out JC Kalen. Shout out Cody Co.
I've always just lived my life very crazily. I think we're similar in that sense. Like we just grew up in a very crazy, turbulent way, and we live life so crazy. And then it's like you kind of wake up one day and you're like, maybe these things all weren't like normal or like they're strange. And it's not, I'm not trying to like cancel anyone for anything because I don't have any room, but it is very.
No, but you so do. Like I like that you're coming around to this because you're actually still young to like think, know this kind of stuff and like realize it. But I like that you say something because you are known as being so wild. And I am too. Like, when you're open and you're very sexual, people just think they can like do and say whatever.
And people really will. I've realized how much people will discredit, I guess, trauma or just crazy shit or like whatever when you are wild. You really did like open my eyes to a lot of that. On Frenemies, you said something about like, you're like, I hope she doesn't like, you know what I mean? Like go so crazy and wake up one day and like be so broken or like something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and like it was a very like eye-opening thought to me. And then like it is wild. It's funny too because this. I wish I could just say it. Should I just say it? It's kind of fucked up. I don't know if I was 17 or 18. I was like on the brink, but I was at a playlist live and they were like trying to hook up with me. And it's something I never even like thought of again. You know what I mean? It was just like, and obviously it was like an older guy and whatever, but I mean, we're friends now. And like, obviously I'm not saying it's right. It's not right. It's entire, but I don't know if I was 17 or 18 and I don't know if anything so bad ever happened to where it's like condemning them. It was more just like a flirty weird encounter or whatever. And a couple weeks ago, I got a call from that, should I say it?
Are they doing an article?
That Gabby Hanna was trying to sell to them that this YouTuber like hooked up with me when I was like underage and that it was fucked up. And I was like, what if this was my trauma? Is this fucked up to say? Or like, what if this, it was so insane to me. Because after all the Escape the Night shit, I wasn't like super in it. Like obviously it was an experience and you know, I could have a lot of shit to say.
Yeah, that's gross.
I know. I liked a Joey Graceffa tweet about what, you know, like, you know, just impertinence to like his video or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I get this call. Gabby Hanna called me and said this YouTuber was trying to hook up with you when you were little. All this shit.
I hate that.
And I hate that. I didn't even think about the fact. I was like, damn, well, now that I'm thinking about it, I guess that could be something that could be, but it's mine to like have or not have. And
you cannot bring someone else's trauma public. Like if you've never talked about it, if you're friends with this person, like regardless of how wrong it was. Ew.
This isn't a new thing that came up. I don't even know why it's recently I mean, I know now it's because like D'Angelo Wallace just covered it and stuff like that, but I don't know why other people have just now started to find out about it. But she first mentioned that at least a few years ago. And I brought it up in conjunction with the JC thing because I said, I think that this is like, one of us says that it's like, this isn't a unique thing.
Well, that's the most concerning part. Like I went back to hear what we were saying and literally this is a thing that happens a lot. It's something that like, it's like, oh, we're two influencers. Like who cares? We're right here. We're neck and neck. Like it doesn't matter what age we are basically. And obviously that's fucked.
Well, I mean, I don't think we were saying that to excuse it. We were saying I think that is why it has been more normalized and why no one was saying anything before because people kind of group them all in the same thing. But like, I even wasn't totally aware that Cody was 25.
I did. You actually said he was 21 in the video.
You corrected me.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah, and then you corrected me. And then I was like, oh yeah, you're right. No, he was 100% 25 and she was 17. And we say in it that, I don't know, actually, I like don't want to speak for Cody, but that it's like, I'm sure it maybe doesn't seem as predatory, but it's like thinking about it more, that is gross. And especially now knowing that he knew beforehand, I thought he knew, but like he was explicitly told and then acted like he cared and then still did it anyway. And now I've seen videos after it allegedly happened where he's like calling her a teen and very
calling
much
himself like an old man or like I'm too old for YouTube. Yeah.
Teach me some slang. Teach me some teen slang.
Well, I was gonna like write it
Alright, so
down.
I'm way too old to be on YouTube.
Way too old to be on YouTube, obviously.
Same. I mean, I turned 30 really soon, and it's just kind of like the end of my career. You know, it's
I mean, you need to stop.
yeah. Honestly,
I'm joking.
this is it.
She knows a whole bunch of slang and cool words because she's, you know, a teen, whatever. So I'm here basically just to learn some teen slang, right? So do you want to?
Yeah, I'd love to.
This is from a YouTube video that they filmed in, I want to say it was like June of 2016. And in February of 2016 was when Playlist happened.
Sorry, girlies, I really didn't want to have to raid this episode so soon, but Lily is today's offender. The video of Tana and Cody came out in May, not June, and Playlist Live Orlando was a month earlier in April, not February. But does it even matter? That was a rhetorical question because no, it doesn't matter. Tana's birthday is in June, which means she was still 17 for both of these instances. Meanwhile, Cody was 25.
This video that I just played clips from is still up. This is also the one that we played in that episode
where he's checking out her ass and she looks and is acting like a teenager.
He repeats that she's a teen 3 times in like 20 seconds. And it very much is like distancing himself age-wise to be like, I'm old, she's a teen, she's gonna teach me teen slang. And it's like, remember when you had sex with her 3 months earlier and then continued collabing with her? And she says in that video, and I know that there's tweets from like 2014 where she's very much expressing that she's a fan of his, like a big fan.
All of that to say, we covered this a while ago. The new details now are that Tana has actually like said the story again on her podcast and like explicitly talked, she's talked more about it, which I think she should. Cody Ko has stayed silent. We know that. Literally, the new piece of information that we've received is that somebody was corroborating her story, and also that somebody had mentioned to Cody Ko, hey, she's underage. And then he went and did it anyway. What I will say is I agree with D'Angelo Wallace in the sense that the commentary space is a man's world, and it's very interesting. Like the people who didn't cover the I'm Alex stuff. Interesting, I would say. I would pay attention to things like that. I think that is valid. And I understand why people like ran to our episode and was like, what the fuck are you talking about Alyssa Violet for? Talk about Cody Ko. All I will say is that obviously, no matter Tana's anything, like, because people, that was a big thing of D'Angelo's video, is like people are victim blaming her because of her past and the things that she's done that have been problematic, which it touches a nerve with me specifically because literally in court, my like vines about like sex and stuff were used against me. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. It's disgusting.
And you know that would happen if this did.
Oh,
ever.
100%.
Okay, well, and that's one of the things I wanted to touch on because I was chatting with my best friend, ChatGPT. I was like, let's explore why Cody is staying silent. Obviously, because he doesn't want to admit it because he knows it's wrong. But also, I was like, is he staying silent because he wants it to just like go away, or because he doesn't want to admit to committing a crime?
Think about it. Like, yeah, it's a crime.
But the thing is then I looked and it went down in Florida. Apparently the statute of limitations, there are exceptions, but it's 3 years. So already.
But you're forgetting, it doesn't matter if he's prosecuted for a crime. If he committed a crime, even though he may not legally be able to be pursued, if he admits to that, he's done in the public eye.
But honestly, what his response has been now, which is silence, but not just silence.
Filtering.
It's deleting comments and like very heavily filtering stuff to try and just like shove it all away. But it's actually having the Streisand effect where it's just like all blowing up more.
Yeah.
Even today, I literally woke up and like 5 more big creators have covered it. It has millions and millions of views.
Yeah.
So him trying to suppress it more and more is only making it worse. So it's like, yeah, obviously you're going to lose a shit ton of fans if you acknowledge that it happened and you admit it. But also I think it would go a long way to at least attempt to try and be transparent about it rather than just pretend it didn't happen when it's so clear that it did.
It is my belief that it happened.
It is my opinion
Allegedly,
also that it happened.
you
Like,
know?
it's no question. And also, Tana said that he had even texted her after she had mentioned it, like at one point early on.
Said something about it online and it was starting to surface, and he texted me like, are we good? And was like, I said yeah, and like he was like, my wedding's coming up, like yada yada yada, and I was like,
fuck.
And then now it's like all these Reddit threads, like if my name's on any thread, it's all getting deleted. Like I know it's just a weird fucking fucked up situation.
This is actually the crazy part that we brought it up in the JC episode, is that the first time she mentioned it, she said shout out Cody Ko and JC Kalen, who she also hooked up with.
The craziest part of Tana covering it on Canceled was she mentioned, like you just said, that he reached out to her to be like, yo, we good? Like type of thing. Like, why are you doing that? Kind of, but very low-key, not straight out saying that. And that was, she said, before he got married, which was not that long ago. And there's some people who are like, 17, that's almost 18. I'm like,
It's not
though. It's not.
Even in Florida specifically, there are like exceptions where it's like the Romeo and Juliet laws and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This is not included in that because the age
He's so
difference
much
was
fucking older.
8 years.
I saw a lot of comments of people kind of echoing that, like, maybe we were scared to talk about this or like whatever. I'm not scared to talk about any commentary man who hurts a woman or like does anything like that.
I don't give 2 fucks about Cody Ko.
Yeah, do we
Like,
know
I don't-
them? Met him
I don't
once at a
watch his
party.
content.
Don't care. Like,
Yeah,
I have
no.
no want to like hide this or suppress the story. If anything, quite the
Well, and
opposite.
we had no reason to, I mean, the reason we brought it up last time because we thought it was concerning.
Yeah.
Like, and the reason we hadn't talked about it more was because, like, honestly, it didn't seem like there was much new stuff
like she
to
just
talk
spoke about it again, essentially. And then
Yeah.
also, some people were pointing out one of the new details does contain someone whom I don't talk about on this podcast. It's somebody that no matter what, I'm never going to say, hey, this person said this and that, and it's never going to be included in stories, and it's just not going to happen. It's a boundary we have on this channel. So that's that. And if anything new happens, if Cody Ko responds, we are absolutely going to be covering anything new that develops there. I mean, we're not like avoiding pieces of that. I just want that to be known. I know D'Angelo Wallace was calling out people who have been avoiding it, and I think that's valid. I do think people have been. And again, some male commentary creators whom you may follow aren't covering it, and that is weird. But other than that, there's really no new developments. Do we condemn what he did? Fuck yeah. I think that he's
Absolutely.
a weirdo. Yeah. At the age of 25, I already had my son. Like, you're in a different state of mind at 25. Maybe some people have crazier 20s or whatever. I don't know. But when I look at them side by side in that video, what did they have in common other than he's just like, oh, you're hot? And people have been pointing out, Cody Ko is a fucking frat guy. Like, he may seem all put together and like this safe commentary creator, but no.
But that's also another thing that I actually did see only recently is that apparently one of his friends is like convicted of not only filming an act, I'm just trying to make this so stay monetized, but then also drugging her beforehand.
Yeah.
And is like guilty of that. And
Wasn't he
was
the
just
best man
Cody's
at
wedding.
Cody's wedding? Or like he was a groomsman?
I don't know if he was the best man, but he was there and like is like very much involved. I guess he used to be in some of Cody's videos, but that he like started to distance himself from, but he's still in a bunch of pictures when they go on trips and stuff and like is in the friend group. That reminds me of like David when he acted like he like excommunicated Dom, but then there was pictures of them hanging out like right afterwards. And also I've never been to Playlist, but I have heard, and this
crazy.
Is no way like excusing anything he did, but isn't it supposed to be like kind of a fucking
it's
just,
a
like,
fucking
hot mess?
shit show. And then you have to remember all of these influencers are put up in rooms for free, so everybody's staying in the same hotel. We have private floors.
Yep.
It is not a normal environment. It's weird, and I think that that's problematic in itself because you have, I mean, they do like, for instance, for their parties you have to show ID and then they give you a wristband. Fine.
Oh, but
but if you don't have one and you're drinking, nobody's gonna stop
parties. You. No, not even a little bit.
So it's definitely a problematic environment that honestly I never want to be in again. Like, I don't ever want to go to one of those.
Well, and I think I've never been to Playlist, but VidCon even, and I know stuff like happens at VidCon, but I feel like VidCon is much more industry focused. That there are a lot of like. More like business sided people. It's not as much like just a party with only influencers. It's like a lot of people networking and stuff. Like, I definitely got drunk at parties, but not like, I don't know, maybe I wasn't getting invited to after parties where it was like super crazy. But
every time I've ever gone to a Playlist or a VidCon, I have been like, other than the one time I was pregnant, I have been drunk and just a hot mess. And whose room are we going in tonight? Like, it was just a lot. It was a lot. So I think that for people like Tana Mongeau, that is such an unfortunate environment because, first of all, you have the illusion, right, that you're on the same playing field as all these people because she was also very big at the time, like follower-wise. So she feels like she's on the same playing field as Cody Ko, not realizing.
But I also think it was like her first Playlist, maybe second. She was big, but she hadn't had like a bunch of exposure to being in these kind of situations with all of these creators.
No, and
I'm sure that that's like a lot to take in. And
yeah. And all in all, like, yeah, Cody Ko was dead fucking wrong for that. And I think that there is no out for him. He either talks about it, admits it. I mean, honestly, even if he does that, he's fucked. I don't know where he goes from here. I don't. And I think that there's either people that are going to stick with him through it or they're not.
I think that he has more of an opportunity for some kind of redemption if he does acknowledge it than if he just keeps trying to make it go away.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Because people will just keep digging and they'll find out more. And like, I haven't even seen people pointing out the teen stuff in the video clip that we watched.
Yeah.
Like, the more he doesn't talk about it, the more people are going to sift through every video he's ever made and catch any weird comment. And it's just going to get worse and worse.
Yeah, but I mean, that's pretty much it. I feel up to date. Like, nothing else has happened. And I understand, obviously, why it's important to talk about it. At any point when her voice needs amplification, I mean, her podcast is bigger than ours. But, like, you know, we're happy to. Absolutely. We weren't ignoring it by any means. And, yeah, I mean, I guess that's it. Or fuck them. I have no affiliation or, what is it? Brittany Broski just recently put out a statement about it and people are pissed. She basically was like, oh my God, I'm so troubled to know about this allegation. If that's true, I would be heartbroken.
If
like,
that's true.
Literally, she said, if it's proven to be true.
How are you going to prove it?
That's the delicious part, because it's just like, what do you mean by that, Brittany? You think there's video evidence we have?
But also, the other clip that came forward of this other person mentioning it predated when Tana had ever even talked about it. So it was like,
well, and also it's bullshit because
things
it's like,
that have
Brittany,
lined up where
you
it's
knew
like,
about it. Like, just like, come on, like everybody knew about it. Again, we knew about it 5 months ago, but you knew about it before then. She knew about it. Is all I'm saying. And people have been up in her comments asking her. So it's like, girl, be for real, please. I beg. But so people are really upset about her response. And
does she collab with him a lot?
Oh yeah, she's had a few videos with him, and she's also been like a fan of Cody Ko's. Like
I've watched a few videos, but I've never really.
I used to love his videos with Noel. Is that his name? Like they're funny together.
Hasn't he gotten a lot of?
I don't know. I gotta look into that. I have no idea what his if his friends have said anything. I doubt it.
Not about that, but I think other things that he said that he was getting canceled like several months ago too. Canceled. Quote unquote.
I definitely don't know.
That's the thing. I think there's a lot of these creators that people viewed as being these like, oh, they're just nice guys, and then it became like clear it's like, or they're guys.
Yeah. There's a reason people will choose the bear. It's not just a saying of like, oh, I'll choose the bear. It's literally like, if you're going to put me in a forest with a random man I don't know, chances are way better with the bear.
Well, especially when look at these people where it's like, they did know these guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's almost always,
that doesn't matter.
The guys. Yeah. And he just had a responsibility to not be an absolute idiot and dick and horrible
legally
person in that moment.
And just like as a position as an influencer and just like morally, like, what are you doing? I know she said in her podcast that she talked about it, she was like, do I feel traumatized? Like she said she basically like doesn't look back at it as like this really traumatic event that happened. She talks about like, no, I'm not, but also I know that trauma is internalized and like manifests in other ways that you might not realize that it did something to you, and it did. And she just talks about how it like makes her feel bad to see how many people are discrediting her, being, oh, was she drunk? What was she wearing? Kind of like typical misogynistic bullshit. When then it's like girls watching her and seeing that that's the reaction to her coming out.
So many comments of people like on some like, but what was she wearing shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On some like, well, it's Tana Mongeau. And
Ew,
isn't that crazy?
That's so
like,
fucked up.
Because I really like, you know how I feel towards it, but now seeing all of these people like not believe me and say, well, what if she's lying or she's this and she's that and she's dramatic? First of all, there's nothing, I would never lie about that. Like, I'm not going to put an allegation on anyone, like, ever like that, obviously. But seeing people not believe you is so crazy.
That's fucking awful.
Like,
that's...
And I'm grateful that I'm the type of person that I don't let things like that discourage me, but it just makes me feel so sad for so many people that aren't like that, you know?
Well, I think that if you are a woman and you create stuff on the internet and you have done anything but be proper little Nara Smith in my dress in the kitchen, people will hold things against you. And honestly, they'd probably hold things against her too, even if something happened, God forbid, to her. The thing is like, I relate to Tana a lot in the sense that I also started the internet, not as young as she did, but young. And I was like raunchier, quote unquote, or I said and did a lot of like promiscuous things at I was a young age.
And people use it against you.
And people use it against me all the time. Yeah,
when it has absolutely nothing to do with, like, it doesn't have to do with what you did. It's what someone else did to you.
People have this idea of, if you've ever said anything sexual on the internet, it's like, well, bitch, like, you like
you
sex. Like, what are you talking about it? I don't care, quite frankly, because she really did look so young. And like,
I met Tana when she was 18. She looked like she was 18.
No matter if she was going to turn 18 tomorrow, she was so immature and so young. I don't care if she threw herself on Cody Ko. I really don't. Like honestly.
He should have been like, you're a child, get away.
Well, and
like,
he did say that in the video. You know what I mean? Like, he was just like, what is a teen?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what's crazy is he said that after it happened. And I'm like, and then you're checking out her ass while she's walking by.
I feel like that's where we're at today. I don't think there's anything else right now, and we'll cover it if there is. That wasn't supposed to be a whole topic, but I guess it is, and that's fine, I guess.
We support Tana in this situation. We think Cody Ko is gross, and that's it.
No problem saying it. I'll wear a shirt that says Cody Ko is gross if you guys want. It's fine.
Speaking of gross, guys, shall we move on?
Not me having to stare at Clinton Kane's mouth for another hour.
Wait, did you see the clips of his ex-girlfriend commenting on his mouth?
No, what did she
say? Makes several digs. She says something about like him saying he lost his whole family and goes, and he's about to lose all of his teeth to gingivitis.
She said that, his ex-girlfriend?
If he doesn't do anything about this and he just keeps turning off his comments and stuff, he's gonna lose his music career. He's literally about to lose his teeth as well to gingivitis. I'm kidding.
She also says that she wasn't interested in him at first because he sent a picture of himself smiling, and then she she flat out says that when he smiles that you can see half of his teeth, but the other half is just tar.
Lily, I hate you for sharing
those
that
are actual
information.
things that she said.
In the beginning, though, I wasn't that interested in Clinton because he sent me a picture of him smiling one time, and his teeth, like half of his teeth were visible and the other half, it was just pure tar. Like, it was so thick. But I fell in love because he con artisted his way to my heart.
Anyway, so as we said last episode, we weren't gonna cover him, but like then
we didn't even say the
he
name.
came out with
Clinton
his
Kane.
third-
Did we say his name?
Oh, did we have to?
Guys, Clinton Kane. If you don't know, I can't help you there. We've done like
The
3
gift that
episodes
keeps
at this
on giving.
point. Yeah, I really did not want to talk about him again.
That's the thing. I was so in the court of he couldn't possibly respond to this anymore because he had released the statement to Rolling Stone after Brooke's series where he tried to kind of like discredit her, but it was like, okay, you're still full of shit. Then he decided that statement wasn't good enough, which I do want to say. I know Megan even just made a TikTok about how she looked up whether he had a publicist or not on IMDb Pro. And he didn't have one listed. And to that I say, I'm not really surprised because I feel like he doesn't have a personal publicist. I'm sure he gets to use his label's publicist, which is kind of just like they work for the label and do whatever for the artists under the label. I think that while this does fall under personal PR, it is going to be affecting his music PR as well. So I think they were willing to jump in and be like, we'll help you and we'll release a statement. But I think either he went back and was like, but people are still freaking out. And they were like, well, it's best if we stay quiet. Or, and I'm betting on this, he personally realized that people were still talking about it and he knew that the label wouldn't do anything else. So he was like, I'm going to take this into my own hands. Because either way, it is clear that no one was consulted when he did this. And by this, I mean release a 30-part series where he points out all of Brooke's lies and takes accountability, quote unquote, but doesn't really.
Yeah, so the last that we've covered about Clinton was him being called out by Brooke Schofield, who dated him and he cheated on her and did a lot of shit, lied about his whole family being dead. You gotta go watch the other episodes, okay? That's as much as I could give you right now. We have a lot to get into. But basically, after she did that series, he turned off all his comments and that was that. Like, nobody really thought we would hear from him. We thought we would just be hearing his shitty song over and over again. But what happened next was insane. I don't know what's more jarring, the fact that he did this or the fact that after he got smoked on the internet so much for not wearing chapstick, he still didn't for the series. I'm not even trying to be funny. That's a wild amount of like distancing yourself from people's opinions because there was like countless videos. He would straight up be tagged in them. People begging him, please, Aquaphor, we beg. And he came on with the most chapped lips of all.
The chapped lips aside from one other instance, I've never seen someone with so much confidence come on and try and tell so many people, and I know people are like, oh, I don't feel like we get it as much, but I see in general, people overuse gaslight, blah, blah. This
gaslighting
is just like, he took the gasoline and he was like, oh, I have that dumpster fire burning over there, but not big enough. Let me make it way bigger. And he dumped gasoline all over it to gaslight the fuck out of us. And guess what, Clinton? It did not work. I don't know how you ever thought it would, but oh my God.
Some people had commented how when watching this, and we're not going to put you through the entire series, we're just going to, touch the fun parts, if you will.
Pick out some of our faves.
But there was a lot of people that were saying that they started believing him because he would pick things that factually, technically, he can prove. Now, what you have to ask yourself as a viewer is, why the fuck am I watching this? And that's why we call reverse receipts, because we have lived reverse receipts. We've had pages of a screen filled with things about us, and we're looking at it and we're like, do I need my glasses?
That doesn't apply to what you're saying. Like,
yeah.
What are you talking about?
It doesn't match up with what they're saying. But there is a psychological thing that happens when you can prove one little tidbit of something and then you say, look, you see, this person's a fucking liar.
He's trying to chip away at the credibility as much as he can. So it's like, well, if she lied about this, what else did she lie about? And it's like, well, you lied about your parents dying.
I literally was on part 13 and I'm
saying?
like, are we going to talk about mama or what's going on?
You guys, he made it to part 20. I shit you not. 20 before any family members are even mentioned. And then when he mentions them, this is the main thing he goes about that I said to Jesse at one point. I was like, how is he going to, in so many of these, the whole thing is about him lying about something. But rather than address his own lie, he points out times that Brooke has talked about the lie and when she found out. First of all, he tries to catch her in a lie using interview clips, and I'm like, Clinton,
you don't want to go there, honey. Lily's
very
got
bold
you.
of you to do. When I've literally every other sentence in just his Zach Sang interviews, it's like, you're kidding. How can you what are you doing? So he's putting all these interview clips together to try and be like, look it, she said this on this date, but said this on this date, which like, first of all, Clinton, your whole story is so fucking convoluted and confusing
And bullshit.
and varies from time to time when you talk about, I'm not surprised that she wouldn't be saying the exact same thing anytime. But also, so he would point out that like she said this on this date and this on this date, and she said I got a speeding ticket on the way to Joshua Tree. Well, guess what? It was on the way back from Joshua Tree.
First of all, we didn't get pulled over going to Joshua Tree. We got pulled over going back to LA from Joshua Tree.
So he'd take these things that is like really insignificant details that like don't disprove the fact that he lied. And then he'd be like, well, she lied about this and she lied about this about me lying. See what? She's a liar.
That's what they do. They hurtle over the big truth and then like trip over the
Focus
little
on the
things.
tiny
It's the
little.
straw man fallacy. It drives me fucking insane.
Semantics gymnastics, I also call it. Yes.
Yeah, we will not waste your time with showing you the trillion parts where he is simply showing Uber receipts because what is
I do have one of those pulled to show just because there's something else in it that I'm like,
Okay.
what are you talking about?
Okay, but just know there's more. There is like about 5 parts and then one part at least correcting himself, being like, oh, I just realized, mate, you can't see the Uber properly. Let me show you the right. Nobody cares where you Ubered, when you Ubered. We're not talking about that. Where's your mom? Where's your brother?
Okay, so
Actually,
that's the
is what I
crazy
wanna
part.
know.
Again, that's never mentioned.
Never. No, he can't touch
But
that one.
So the crazy thing is as I mentioned, 20 parts before he gets to even mentioning his mom. Then in that one, he doesn't explain anything, but doesn't even mention it before then because he's so focused on all these weird little details that it's like, I think I speak for pretty much everyone that the main things that everyone wanted to hear him address were that he said multiple times and has been caught in this lie several different ways that he lost 3 family members, which would imply that they are related, but that he lost them all in the span of a year. So that's lie number 1. Hey girlies, it's me. I let the AI voice take a break, but that's also because this isn't misinformation that I need to correct. Well, I mean, it is misinformation from Clinton, but anyway, he has a habit of doing these like handwritten notes for his fans that he usually puts out around like album releases. And if you've watched our other episodes, you've definitely seen them before, but I found one today when I was pulling assets for this, and I just had to read you a couple excerpts because I think I pointed out one before where he says that he lost 3 family members, but it's still kind of vague. This one, oh my God. Us people have been able to scrounge and find some other interesting collabs they've done. Unfortunately, it is not available in its original handwritten form because, you know, he deleted it. I wonder why. Lucky for us, it has been transcribed and put on websites and referenced in interviews, and it lives on, much like his mother and brother. He says, in the last year and a half, I've experienced so much loss and pain. I lost my mom, brother, and dad in 1 year, 2021. I shut down. It was one loss after another, and it felt like it would never end. I've always wanted to open up about these things, but never knew how. I thought I knew what growth and maturity meant. I thought I became an adult. I thought I was there, but I wasn't. Nothing in life can slap you across the face and show you exactly where you stand as an adult harder than hospital bills, funerals through Zoom, and salvaging whatever remained of a family that no longer did. Salvaging whatever remained of a family that no longer did. That doesn't entirely make sense, but okay. It all became a very harsh reality of where I stood as a man and as a person. I would go with boy, but anyway, I won't bore you with the rest, but just wanted to make it clear that he was very specific about his mom, his brother, and his dad, all dying in 1 year. The second one, lying where he's from and potentially faking an Australian accent, which he did. And also the ex-girlfriend from Brunei, where he's from, that's not in Australia, she confirms too. She responded to a comment of someone asking and she said, oh my God, I can't do it. No, in an Australian accent.
No.
That's how she responded.
Well, also, I sent Lily a voice note that somebody posted on TikTok where he said, I was born in Perth.
Claimed that you weren't telling people that you were from Australia and that you just said that because you've been so many places, but you stayed there quite a while, that you didn't say you were born there, that you were born in the Philippines. What's this?
I was born in the Philippines in 1999. Yes, I'm from Australia. I was born in Perth. I lived there for a total of 8 years, and then I lived like half of my life in the UK and Europe. So
Because the fact that you said it to this random girl on a dating website tells me there's a good chance you said that to Brooke too, and everyone else you meet. So there's a big difference in saying you're born somewhere and you're from somewhere. Hope this nitpicking helped you. Toodles.
And we're gonna watch. He was not born in Perth, Australia. Okay, motherfucker's not Australian.
Should we watch that one first?
Oh, sure. Actually, that would be great because he is a fucking liar. Like, he's just flat out lying. And honestly, just his demeanor in the videos, I was just like, did anybody watch these back before you posted?
No, that's what I'm saying earlier. Definitely did not consult anyone. Like, not even, I mean, I don't know where his friends are, at what capacity they are friends and stuff. But he did not show anyone these because he thought he was gonna kill it. He was gonna prove everyone wrong and show what a liar Brooke was, and everyone watched it, and it was like, even if Brooke did lie about some of this stuff, you're not disproving that you lied about everything. You're pointing out weird things that no one cares about that honestly don't even make sense half the time, or like the vague descriptions of things. It is insane.
We gotta watch it because I feel like we're talking so much about the videos that we haven't shown them.
Here's the one that really killed me. This is after the 30 parts. Taking accountability, where he literally just talks about like his accountability in their relationship for like not.
Yeah, he's like, I cheated.
Yeah, I was honestly, like, that's not even what people care about anymore. Like,
dude, I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but what's crazy is when he was talking about how he cheated, I almost feel like he was proud of it. Like, I almost feel like I felt like I've cheated on plenty of girls. Like I shouldn't have done that. Like, yeah, I'm a dick. Like, I'm like, you kind of like that, huh? That's weird.
Okay, so this video is now going to be about me taking accountability for everything I did wrong in the relationship. First of all, I did cheat. It was a weak asshole move to do, and I am sorry for it. I've apologized to Brooke privately countless times, profusely, months after we broke up. And what tends to happen is as soon as I want out of a relationship, for reasons like, it's unhealthy or it's like a sudden realization that it won't work, I never know how to come to terms with that emotion, and I go the pussy way and give them a reason to break up with me instead of, just manning up and doing it myself. I was a kid about it, and for most of my life, I didn't know, all my life actually, I didn't know or have a proper model of what a healthy relationship looked like. And all I can do and have done is learn and be better. And me saying this is not trying to justify me cheating in any way or ask for pity about it. This is me just owning my shit. Next, I also did love bomb quite a bit. If I really think about it and think back to all of my relationships, I've love bombed every single fucking relationship. I didn't know what love bombing was. I didn't know that was a real thing. I didn't know that was even a fucking term until I broke up with her. So I am also sorry about that.
Does anyone else find it interesting that he says that he cheated because he wanted a way out of the relationship, so he wanted to give the girl a reason to break up with him? But then he proceeds to talk about how he love-bombed every girl he's ever been in a relationship with and says that he broke up with Brooke. It's a little inconsistent there. Although, you know what it is consistent with? Brooke saying that she accused him of cheating and him breaking up with her for accusing him because he broke up with her. So I just thought that was interesting. And actually, we're going to watch also a video that I found from Teffy. It's an influencer. You probably are familiar. I feel like everyone is.
She's from Miami.
I love her accent.
She's a cubana from Miami.
But it's slightly different than yours.
Yeah, it's a little bit heavier for sure.
But she posts a response to one of his videos, and I guess she's friends with Brooke, and gave me chills.
Teffy's been on fire on the internet.
I know. I was like, she's been reading people to filth and just succeeding every single time.
I don't think we're going to be able to get to our Pearl coverage, maybe next episode, but what I will say is her comments about Pearl have made my entire week.
It made her, like, I want to be her best friend. Like, literally. She's great.
Same.
Okay, but so here's about where he's from, his origin story. After all of her lies he brings up this, which again, this is one of the main things people wanted to hear from. Took him 30 parts.
All right, guys. In this video, we're going to talk about why my accent is the way that it is and where I'm from. I was born in the Philippines in
Oh, we know.
We know, but guess what doesn't? Rolling Stone Australia, Forbes, every interview
The person who
you've
told you were
ever
born in
done.
Perth. That's my favorite thing. Is like, how can you be such a fucking liar? And look at this still right now. He's just like pointing. He's like, as you can see right here where I wrote it. It's like,
Well, oh my God. Well, let's keep going.
1999. I'm missing.
Please.
Not the passports.
Tell me, though, why he's showing them when they are all the same and from the Philippines. Why would he have that many passports if he only lived there a very brief time? Where's the Australian one? Where's the UK one?
I don't know, mate.
Tell me what that proves, Clinton, because what do you...
I want to see your Perth birth certificate, motherfucker. Like, explain that.
I truly, though, like, you know that this makes you look worse. Like, and he says he can't find 3, and I'm like, you can't find 3 from the other countries?
No, that's where you're wrong. They never know what makes them look worse. That's what's crazy. They genuinely do not have the same capacity to be like, this may not look great. No, they don't got that.
3 more passports that I cannot find. Before the age of 1, I moved to Australia.
So he had 5 passports, even though he was only in the Philippines for 1 year.
Wait a second. Wait a second. He said before the age of 1?
Yes, but he has 5 passports.
That's not right. That's not right. We know that not to be true.
Well, but then
He grew
also
up in Brunei.
But Brunei isn't in the Philippines. Don't you remember my little update where I did the geography lesson?
Right.
His mom and his dad are from the Philippines, so he probably, wouldn't you be a citizen there too? Am I wrong?
Yes, Nassim has a U.S. passport and a French passport.
So you would be a dual citizen. So if he just had the Philippines
Where's
ones,
your
even though he
Australian
lived
one?
in Brunei, that still makes sense.
Where I had family. While I was there, according to Google, I had learned
family in Australia.
average
He has no
of
family in
1,500
Australia.
words.
I mean, according to his mom's Facebook, where every relative I've seen is from the Philippines and speaks Tagalog, like that doesn't really check out. I did see things where they went to Australia for like trips, but that was the extent of it. And like, yeah, that doesn't date back to 1999, but like,
This
what
would be
family?
the time to be like, here's my Australian ass fucking cousin, mate. Here he is. This is his name. He lives in Australia. This is the time, Clinton. You can't just be like, I've got family in Australia. No, we want to know details.
But you see the Word document, it says he lived in Australia, so that, that must be...
And it is all in caps. It is all in
yeah,
caps,
it's
which does
legit,
make it official.
confident, yeah. And notice, though, isn't it curious that only one date is there next to the Philippines?
I did notice that. I was like, did he get lazy or what happened there?
No, I think he got a little, ooh, that's not gonna look good. So he had to leave all the other ones out.
He's like, I was born in the Philippines 1999. Everything else, who's worried about dates? Not me.
Oh,
I mean, who
don't get me
cares?
started. We'll get to that part, and I love it so much. It's my favorite line.
According to Google, I had learned an average of 1,500 words with the regional dialect of Perth.
What? First of all, I'm sorry for stopping so much, but what is this? He
According
says, according to Google.
I had learned an average of 1,500 words.
According to Google?
According to Google.
What do you mean? Like, do you mean that you told an interviewer one time?
What's crazy about this is
What?
Mama can speak on this because once again, I have some experience and anecdotal evidence I can tie into this. My husband learned English in Manchester, in the UK.
According to Google, how many words?
Girl, I don't fucking know. But what I will say is that when he left the UK, the only word that I could detect that he learned with an accent was water. Like he kind of said it with a British accent. He lost that immediately. Just because you learned a word, especially the UK is such a distinct accent, so is Australia. Just because you learn English there, should you not maintain your life there and be around Australians and have that as a part of your everyday life, you will lose that. I think that's just such weird evidence. Like,
According
what
to
are you
Google,
talking
what
about?
the fuck does that mean? Like, genuinely, I'm asking.
Yeah.
Like, what are you saying?
What did he even type in, bitch? Like, did he literally just be like, I lived here for this long,
How
and like,
many
how do they
words
know
did
the
I
speed you learned at? It doesn't make sense.
Literally, sorry, I won't pause it and we'll watch it all the way through, because also notice that he's like kind of flustered when he's saying it, which I know like body language wise, like when you can't.
The eye darting.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
Moved to Australia where I had family. While I was there, according to Google, I had learned an average of 1,500 words with the regional dialect of Perth. Then I moved to the UK where I learned more words with the regional dialect of Manchester.
Did Google not tell you how many words you learned there? Like, what the fuck does that mean? I'm so, like, what was he trying to say? Like, by a certain age, that's how many words you use? Or, like,
sure,
learn? I don't get it.
Maybe that's the case, but also I have to ask, like, you need to show that, because I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Like, this is the type of shit that pisses me off. You're just saying things that make no sense.
Well, he says it, though, with, like, the confidence where it's like, that's a concrete fact that I'm coming through with. And it's like, what does that even mean, though? Like, what? It's...
Yeah.
And then I was in Brunei, where English is not the primary language. And they had a specific English regional dialect. And then I was in Singapore. And then I was in Cyprus.
How long for each of those? I would love to know. Because
literally,
what?
Can I see some dates? Again, my husband has traveled. He's lived in Spain. He's lived in Manchester. What are you talking? Like, people go to lots of places. What do you mean? The people learn different things, and you need the dates. I need a lot more proof. Us saying we're not going to pause. We pause every 5 seconds.
I know. From what I've seen, he did briefly go to Cyprus, which is in Greece. That wasn't until he was like 18. So it's like,
I don't get it.
That's not relevant to like why you need to be acknowledging this. And it's because people are saying you faked your accent. So like, you didn't get a new accent in Cyprus when you were 18. But then,
this is some
get ready for my favorite part.
Okay.
There were several back and forths in the countries listed above in no specific order.
No specific order? Sir, chronological order would be the order. Are you kidding? I went back and forth between those countries in no specific order. Yes, there is.
Wait, I'm confused. What does he mean, no particular order? The list is not in order of when he lived in those places?
That I guess that's the original order, maybe. But then he also... I'll play it again for you.
And then please. I was in Cyprus. There were several back and forths in the countries listed above in no specific order.
Wait, so is he saying that there was back and forth, like he would fly back and forth between those countries?
Apparently. So it's like maybe he lived in Brunei, he went to Singapore, but then he went back to Australia, blah, blah, blah.
I'm sorry, this is such bullshit. Even military families that move like every 5 seconds can tell you like, we lived in this place for this long, this place for this long, like.
No specific order is the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
You lived somewhere when you were there, no? Like you can have some this is the time to bring it out, Clinton. Like we're not idiots. Like, can you please tell us when, where, how? Like every place I've ever lived, I have a lease for.
No, Jesse, he doesn't live in a world where there's like
email receipts.
No, I was gonna say consistent linear time. Apparently, like there's no specific order. I just lived all the places at once, and I can't really tell. No, chronological order would be the specific order, sir. Please tell us.
And then when I turned 18, I ended up in Greece on my own. Then I turned 19 and I came to the United States of America. And in between the ages of 19 and 24, I lived in between Amsterdam, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and the United States.
I think that a valid question would be, when you live in places of which you are not a citizen of, there are limitations and pretty intense limitations to how long you are welcome there to live there.
Oh, didn't you see though? He has a little note after this.
Oh, no. Oh, it's
United
so small
States
on my
of America.
astigmatism. You know I didn't.
And just for you, the viewer, when I say I lived somewhere, it is anything longer than 6 months.
Bullshit. So you had a visa to all those countries? No, you didn't. You definitely didn't live there for longer than 6 months.
Well, and that's also, I'm like, so is that how long you lived in Australia for? Is that when you got the accent?
No, but I'm
6
sorry,
months?
that has to be bullshit. Like, there is so much shit that you have to go through to get visas, and you're gonna tell me at the ripe age of 19 years old, he had visas to all these places? He visited these places for like a week, allegedly. That's what I think. I don't think he fucking lived in all these places.
He's been quoted saying that he's had a lot of visa problems and like talked about how he moved around a bunch after he was 19 and ended up in Vegas eventually. But
I get that when you're young, maybe it feels like a long time, but like you probably were there for 2 weeks, motherfucker. Like I think anything under like 2 months or something, you don't have to have a visa. I don't know the logistics, but he definitely would have had to have a visa to be there for over 6 months.
But I love the note he has here that he says out loud kind of, but he goes, just for you, the viewer. Who else would it be for, you weirdo? Who else is watching this but a viewer?
It was just for you, Lily. It's such a weird tactic to be like, I did this for you. Love you.
Yeah, it's like, do you mean everyone watching? Cool. And then he says, class dismissed. Have a beautiful day. Class dismissed? I think we're all going to fail the class because you didn't give us enough information to pass any kind of a test here, because literally the only date we have on here is the year you were born, which is in the Philippines, which you've been for months, years, saying you were born in Perth. So what are you saying?
Now, having all this info, which has already been specified in the last 6 to 7 years in every single publication and interview.
Sir, do you think people people don't have Google?
He has Google. I don't know if you heard.
Well, yeah, that's how we know how many words he learned in Australia. But it took me 2 seconds to find, and one of them being fucking Rolling Stone Australia.
Insane.
Where it's like Perth-born musician. And I'm like, no, this has not all been are you kidding? Like, you've been lying about it in all of the publications. What are you talking about? Why would you even say that? I've never seen anything that said Philippine born. And P.S. question, where is the Norwegian part of your identity? Because that's in all the publications I read, is how you're Norwegian. And I don't see anything about Norway on there.
His late mother, who's not his mother, was Norwegian. And you know that, Lily, you know that's a soft spot. And you know he's not in a good place. He doesn't he's not happy. What's that Kim Kardashian meme?
No, but that doesn't make sense though, because this woman, we'll get to, apparently the mother-like figure who he knew a year. That is what he says.
Allegedly. I have thoughts that she doesn't exist, but that could be wrong too.
It's not. But that doesn't line up with his handwritten note where it says like he felt like, I felt like an outsider growing up with a father from the Philippines and a Norwegian mother. What Norwegian mother?
He makes my brain hurt.
That's the thing, is like, the way he's trying to catch Brooke in lies when all of his lies are so easy. Like, you could compare 2 interviews and every single thing doesn't line up. Like, he contradicts himself constantly.
I did not hide any
Yes,
of
you did.
this. You can see how my accent is amalgamation of all of these places. My accent isn't a typical Australian accent.
That's because it's fake.
And I've never once in my life claimed that it was.
No, you've just said that when you sound American, like, I gotta go back to Australia to me roots. Like, that's literally what he said.
Like, that's the thing, is he says so many things where it's like, you're stupid. You could just look at all this. And it's like, no, but we have. That's the reason we've gotten here, though. Because you've been the one saying all of that for years, and it's not true.
I would like a case study to be done on these individuals. But what I will say...
Truly, it baffles me.
I think that they've gotten some success with that level of gaslighting on a smaller scale, like to one individual, maybe 2 max. You know, they're like separated.
And it just
you can
built
kind of
their confidence to be far
when
too
you
strong.
gather this many people on the internet who, like Lily, love to deep dive or like look into your shit, sir, you've come to the wrong place to spew your shit. We're not the ones. Like, you got to go somewhere else and, like, I don't know, find some poor individual soul to do this to again, because it's not going to be the internet.
He needs to, though, wear them down first by telling them he lost 3 family members in a year, so then they can't question anything he says, because he's just going to get emotional and be like, that's what my mom used to say.
Me mom fell down the stairs.
At 19 years old, when I moved to America for music, my record label and team needed one place to say where I was from. And since I did not live in the Philippines as a child, I chose Australia because honestly it was just a beautiful memory, and that's where I spent my formative years.
Oh, really? He acts like his label was like, nope, sorry, you can only have one place that you've been from. We can't say anything else. Except for, here's the thing. All of his interviews go into detail about all of the places that he's lived.
I would love to find examples, and I'm sure they wouldn't be hard to find, of artists that are part of major record labels that are from various places or different cultural backgrounds. Like,
he says in all of his interviews, like, he doesn't stray away from the fact that he's lived a bunch of places. So acting like he had to pick this one.
You know what he does stray away from? He does stray away from the Philippines. And his ex even said that he's like ashamed to speak Tagalog, or I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but that he doesn't want to speak his like mother tongue. Like, that's not something he's interested in, even though that is his roots. And people who grew up with him, I mean, are we having a Hilaria Baldwin moment? Like, literally people grew up with you, bitch. Like, they know, they remember, they experienced it, and you're trying to be like, no, I just had to choose somewhere.
When you search his real name, there are literal publications from Brunei where it's like he was performing at like a community center kind of. Do you think those don't exist? Like, that wasn't even hard to find. Literally, one of the first things that came up had both of his parents' full names, and that's how I first found them. Like, that's not even secret. He just is banking on everyone believing him.
Yeah,
like, I don't understand how people are like this.
I adopted just saying I was from Australia because I didn't want to list all 10 places that I've lived in and tell my life story every time I would make small talk with a stranger.
What? Like, with a stranger, or in, like, because I don't think a record label would specify how you need to say things to strangers. And
This
in your
is so
interviews,
weird.
again, you do go into your life story every fucking time because
The
you have
thing
to
that makes
pretend
no
it's a
sense
sob
about
story.
this is like, again, anecdotal evidence. My husband was born in Algeria, grew up in Paris, and lived a million places. And guess what he says? He's like, I'm Algerian. Yeah, grew up in France. Not that fucking hard. If other people want to like elaborate and be like, where else have you lived? He'll go into it. But you don't have to say every place you've ever lived.
Well, and most people aren't going to be like, oh, tell me your entire life story right now. And it's like, but that shows, like, I feel like he has narcissistic tendencies where he just thinks that everyone's going to want to know everything about him. And he's just going to.
Trust me, Clinton, nobody's going to ask any more questions than we have to.
Literally. This next one is one of my favorites because Jessie actually sent this to me because this is another situation. She has some anecdotal evidence. When you met Nassim, when did you figure out how many languages he spoke?
Okay, well, he speaks 3 languages. I knew he spoke at least 2 the night we met and made out drunk outside of the club. Yeah.
Which was English and French?
English and French, yeah. I learned that he spoke Berber probably within the first week of knowing him.
And I would assume that that probably came up because you were talking about his family and like
correct
where he's from and
life,
that would come up.
anything, just like how he learned I
Exactly.
like spoke Spanish at the same time. I'm like, yeah, my family is Cuban. Like it's not something I hid, we'll say.
Well, and because it's also not something that you would specifically ask, it's something that would come up while you were talking about your life and your family and stuff. So this one, she sent it to me. She's like, are you kidding? And I watched it. It was like, this is so weird. This is the epitome of the entire series because you watch it and you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah, that is weird. Because he really stresses, this is one of the big things is he stresses so much that they only dated 3 months. It was just 3 months. It was like, you wouldn't tell that to someone, you've only dated for 3 months. And we're like, we get it. It was 3 months. But then also he references how they started talking 2 months earlier than that. So they were pretty much together 5 months. Anyway.
Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 16.
He must also speak another language that he never told me about. So how scary is that? So how scary is that? So how scary is
How
that?
scary is that? Like,
scary?
why do you have to keep
First of all,
replaying
you're
that?
not using the yeah, I was like, you're not using that technique to, like, that's not achieving the effect.
Yeah,
you think it is.
technical, you know, it would have had more impact. Maybe you slow it down if it really, but even then, the impact of that statement, it's not hitting.
That's
you know?
not, yeah, like, okay, that's what she said. Why are you repeating it?
I heard it the first time.
Look at his face here. He just looks so, like,
disgusted. Yeah.
How could you? And, oh my God, I can't. It's so dramatic.
Is it for someone to be bilingual? I don't understand why this would be scary. And second, we dated for 3 months. Would anyone know everything about someone in 3 months?
Yeah.
No, but they'd know if you spoke another language, you weirdo. And it's not scary that you know 2 languages. It's scary that you didn't tell her and
First
you
of
had this
all-
whole other life that you didn't acknowledge.
I was pregnant in 3 months. Okay, Clinton, let's not talk about what you could get done in 3 months. You could get a lot done. There's a lot of time, a lot of ground to cover. I think this is such a weird, dismissive thing to say. Yes, everything you can learn about a person just by talking to them about their family and their history and how they grew up. I knew about my husband within the first 2 weeks. Legitimately. We would
and
sit
that's
for
also
hours talking.
And when you are, he's self-admitted to being like, oh, I've love bombed every relationship. So you were probably talking to them constantly, hanging out with them constantly, despite what his Google Calendar tries to claim. Literally, he just tries to pick and choose what's going to fit his narrative, except none of it actually works. And it's like saying what's scary about being bilingual? Nothing. That's not what she said.
Yeah, that part I can't even entertain because it's like she didn't say it was scary to be bilingual. You absolute idiot. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, I
But
hate him.
what are you talking about? That's not what she said. But also, he is utilizing a thing that a lot of people utilize. When you hurt someone, it doesn't matter how long you knew them. If you were close during that period of time,
someone you've said I love you to for months,
someone who at one point you met, the people that were closest to them, or you were close, don't gaslight the fuck out of someone. You were close. You told each other your deepest, darkest fucking secrets, I'm sure. You slept together. You were with each other all the time. My daughter's screaming like a banshee. Just don't bullshit us. We're not idiots. Literally, how much can get done in 3 months? A lot, motherfucker. I hate that. That's a
trying
long
to
time.
dismiss
Sorry.
it to the 3 months is disgusting, in my opinion. I'm like, fuck off. Especially during COVID, you're not even spending time with anyone else. You're quarantined in a hotel. Oh my God, what are you talking about? So let's watch now the Teffy one because it has to do also with language, because Brooke in interviews has said that his mom doesn't even speak English.
The routes he takes are strange ones.
Who did I date? Not marry. Line number 24.
In fact, I'm pretty sure she works in retail. Like, his mom, I don't even think speaks English. So I'm like, his mom doesn't even speak English. I don't know what she speaks. His mom doesn't even speak English. I don't know what she speaks.
She doesn't even speak English. Doesn't even.
Doesn't even.
She's saying that because you said she's fucking from Australia. She's not saying that to dismiss your
be
mother's
xenophobic.
Filipino.
Like, this is insane.
It's absurd. And I'm like, really? And this is what he continues to like. Because that's absolutely what he is trying to do.
First of all, she does speak English.
Does current because she's
Second of
alive.
all, this is a very triggering statement and is very offensive.
Oh,
to a
brother.
lot of
This
people.
guy
So is you
stinks.
lying about your family being dead, you dumb fuck? Like, are you kidding? I can't. So then Teffy comes in.
Shit,
and
would
I'm just
literally,
like,
I don't even need to say anything because it's my exact opinion. So go ahead, girl. Go off.
it gave me chills because I was like, oh, well done.
What do you care? You killed off your mother.
Period.
You know you killed off your mother. You know you lied. Omission is lying. You lied that your whole family had passed away tragically. And it makes me very sad for you. It makes me very sad for you because that's an indicator of two things. One, you must not be very confident in your talent. In order for you to lie to that degree where you lost various family members in the same year, you must think that your songwriting and your vocal talent is not good enough, that you need a sob story. And somewhere along the line, you realize that people stick around for people they pity, or you wanted to tap into a community that was mourning. Because I know for a fact that you have people coming up to you and you have people messaging you saying, I also lost my parents. That makes me sick. That makes me sick.
Can I just say, I love the way she repeats things.
Just to make sure you heard it, bitch.
I'm like, Clinton, this is how you do that.
For you to come on here and try to paint Brooke as a xenophobic, I don't even know what you're trying to do, really. And I'm talking to you as somebody who has two parents that are not from the United States and English is not their first language. That is insane to see. Also, it's an indicator that you must not have a lot of self-worth in who you are as a partner. That instead of apologizing for your destructive and toxic behavior, you need an excuse to fall back on. So you choose.
Which is what I said earlier when it's like, yeah, well, he first sets the stage that he just lost all these people. So you can't get mad at him for things because it's always like, well, he's going through something. And it's like, except that he wasn't.
Mourning and grief. You know, and I know that you lied. I have seen text. Brooke is a friend of mine, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I am not familiar with your music. It is not my type of music. That doesn't make it bad music. The only reason I'm familiar with your music is because I am friends with your ex-girlfriend. And that was a horrible time for my friend. And not only that, because I am friends with Brooke, I myself, I've never spoken to you, I've never met you, I get messages from girls saying, can you please tell Brooke that I also dated him? And you are such a crushing person because these women have told me that you put them in a place where they didn't believe in love anymore. That's how toxic you are. If you came out and you said, I fucked up, my insecurities have eaten me alive. I created this elaborate story because I saw that women responded to it and people started listening to my music. I dug myself into a hole that was too deep where I didn't even know where I was anymore, and I started to believe it myself. If you came out and said that, I think you would be surprised at the empathy. You get a lot of fucking hate too, obviously, but the empathy that people would offer you, the compassion people would offer you. I think people want to understand why you're digging your heels in, and it's because the hole is too deep now. You are in over your head. It is insane that someone is accusing you of killing off your whole family in a year. pretending that you are another age and lying about where you're from, and you respond with, it wasn't a house, it was an Airbnb. It wasn't our furniture, it was her furniture I helped build. It wasn't ours. What are you talking about, bro?
Period.
These little like nitpicky things you do is honestly scaring me because you believe it now. You believe it now. A part of you probably is grieving. Maybe you didn't have a great relationship with your family. Maybe, you always felt like an outsider. Maybe you had all this anger and sadness and all these feelings that you didn't know where to label them. And you felt like this was the only place where you could really express them. It is gross though. It is gross though. There are people in the world that have lost their families in tragic. There are people who feel alone. I saw too on your TikTok that you're posting fucking people holding up their phones in the Philippines saying, my mom wants to adopt you.
What?
You, God bless you, brother. God bless you.
Literally, I'm like, oh my God, if Teffy ever said anything like that to me, I would be just like crawling into a hole and cease to exist because she says it so perfectly. So actually, and she reminds me of something that I don't think I ever brought up because there was too much during my deep dive that I found. Even I was trying to figure out the date with the dad dying because he has, his songs all used to be titled like the same thing. It's like,
was it all menu options? Chicken tendies, anything else on the menu? Or...
No, it was like what it's like to lose your dad or like what it feels like to be cheated on and stuff like that. It's like all like feelings based.
No, just kidding.
So it used to be, I wrote a song for my dad that died. I wrote a song, and this is one that I found that he hasn't mentioned in recent years, and it's deleted now. But it's, I wrote a song for my best friend who died. That was before any of this, which I think is interesting because I think had everything else not been exposed in the mom, he wouldn't have had to backtrack and say like, it was a motherly figure, actually. I'm sure that this would have been his excuse for the brother, except for also the dates wouldn't line up with this either because it was years before
hurts my
his brother
brain,
died.
I'm telling you. I can't.
But he literally has a song called, and I'm not saying maybe he did have a best friend that died, but at this point, I don't know why we'd believe that because everything else has been a lie. And that's crazy to me that he saw that that worked. And then he was like, oh shit, people relate to this. And like, he appeals to this community of people that is like mourning the loss of something so significant in their lives. And then he moves on a little. He's like, oh, that got me good attention. Let me move on to this next one. And he does the dad. Then he does the mom. And then it's just like, oh my God.
It's literally
what's
what
wrong
Tuffy
with
said. Like, he dug a hole he cannot get out of. And so he's sticking to it because what else is he to do? With that being said, if you want to go tag us in Tuffy's comments and tell her that I really want to be friends with her, that would be great. Thank you.
We want to be her best friend. That would be great.
Literally. Tell her I'm from Miami, Guyana. Like, my family's from Cuba.
I'm not, but
Lily can tag along. It's fine.
Yeah, can I just be a third wheel? Sorry, this is already going on longer than it needs to. We don't need to watch the Uber one, but
yeah, please, let's skip the Uber one.
Yeah, but it killed me because he's like, I didn't tell Brooke that I was going to chug a bottle or a fifth of vodka. I sent her this picture of me after I went and got alcohol, and it is this picture of him with just like
me when I was 16, like literally.
I was like, why the fuck, like, why would a 20-something-year-old be like, hey babe, I just picked up this fifth of vodka that I'm taking a picture of just that. He's not in the picture.
The only times I get pictures of alcohol now are if my husband's at the store and he's like, are these the flavors you said? I'm like, no, you idiot.
It is so weird. And also, he just is like, no, I never said that. Look, I sent her this picture. But it's like, well, we don't know if you didn't also say that though. Like, why would you have sent her the picture unless you were like, see, I'm gonna do it?
But ultimately, what he showed was Uber receipts that backed up quite literally, like, go and research for yourself. Don't take our word for it. Nothing. They show nothing. Nada. Nothing. There was literally zero.
Like, just things that it's like, okay, maybe she got a date wrong or something. Like,
well,
it just was so insignificant to the main things that, like...
Lying about someone's character is annoying. But honestly, to me, I personally get more peeved and fucking ticked off at this type of shit. Nitpicking the most random things nobody asked you, to the point... I've been on the receiving end of this. I've looked at videos and I've just been like, am I in a different universe? What?
This is Jesse did this. And then the pictures on screen to like corroborate that. It's like, that's not what that shows though. It's like literally the opposite.
It drives me insane because there's people that look at this and I'm sure Listen, is it many? It's not. I love this time for women because at least people can come out with things and have the internet back them up. I did not exist in that time, okay? When unfortunately when my story came out, it was not that type of internet. It was disgusting and it was, but look, people are still doing it to Tana. So, I get it. It's not perfect, but like, most people caught on to the bullshit.
It is
Clinton
satisfying
Kane.
to see this of like him literally making a 30-part series about how Brooke's a liar. And it's like, and I said this too, I'm like, I don't think Brooke is lying about any of this.
No.
But it's like, even if you did think she was, what he posted isn't disproving his own lies.
Well, that's why when I was watching it, I'm like waiting for something big to come. Nothing big came.
No.
It was constantly little dates or things that she got mildly wrong.
Again, his story is so all over the place. How do you expect her to keep it straight?
100%. But also, even besides that, what I always ask myself, because I've been in these scenarios before, is I'm like, does what this person is saying this person's lying about change the bigger picture of what he did?
No.
And it doesn't at all. So why are we talking about Uber rides? And why are we talking about the way of which you got stopped on going to Joshua Tree or coming back? I don't fucking even remember. See, I don't remember.
The way he says them too. He'd be like, she said that I got pulled over on the way to Joshua Tree, but it was on the way back. And it's like,
crickets,
what
tomatoes,
do you think
boo,
cool.
tomato. What the fuck are you talking about?
What's your
like,
point?
This doesn't make any sense.
And some of the stuff he proved about that getting pulled over thing, because she says that the cop read the license and it was like said he was born in 99, and she was like, wait a second, that's not that's not the right age. Because her story is that then he told her it was a fake ID, and she was like, well, why would you have a fake ID that makes you younger? That's weird. The reason he wouldn't do that is because you would get fined. I mean, he literally pulls up like a law. It's like, if you show a cop a fake ID, you get fined this much money. And it's like, oh,
but then
okay.
He proceeds
like,
to say that both Brooke saying the car was not his, that's correct. Mm-hmm. And then also he proceeds to admit that he lied about his age to Brooke because she said she didn't want to date younger men, so he lied.
But then he points out the dates that she found out he was lying. And like, even he misrepresents this because she says that she found out when they got pulled over, which he says like didn't, the whole like date thing there, like he says that it didn't happen, which is then weird because he's using that as an example. But then he says the fake ID thing, and then that she lied about that. And I'm like, no, but that was about her saying you told her that it was a fake ID. She doesn't think it was a fake ID. She thinks it was the right one, and that's why it said you were younger.
Yeah, it's all bullshit.
Oh my God, here's a good one. This is where he finally talks about his family, I believe. I might have mentioned them earlier, but this is where he actually addresses it.
Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 23.
And I ask him, also, why did you fake the death of your family? And of course, he denies it. And I then tell him, I've been talking to your mother. I had not been talking to his mother.
That's my favorite part of the whole series.
That got him. He finally admitted that he did, in fact, fake the death of his mom.
Wait, and so that was the reason you broke up. Did you have a conversation with him? What was his sort of reasoning for killing his family?
Oh, he still won't admit it.
Oh.
No, he will not say he did.
The first video was dated June 26th of this year. The second video was dated May 8th of this year. Both videos are 2 months apart. So on May 2024, you said that I never admitted it. And then on June 2024, you said that I did, even though we haven't spoken in a very long time. For the record, I never admitted anything to her.
That's it. That was that video. I watch it thinking he is for the record, and I'm like, yeah, I never admitted anything to her. So you just, but not that he didn't lie and say not that he didn't lie about his family being dead. He just didn't admit it to her.
He triggered
He didn't say it didn't happen. How do you think that you're doing something with this? You literally just made a whole thing about how you supposedly lied about your family, but then you don't deny it.
And also, it's like she's saying that he won't admit it, but I don't even think that she was necessarily saying that he didn't admit it to her. Like, he's not going to outright say that he's not. She could have meant something different. I think that's such a weird.
He's taking all of her interview things very out of context. And
right. And like, if you want to play that game, Clinton, we can play.
Exactly. That's I said, very bold of him to use interview clips juxtaposed to have that be your like evidence. I'm like, really, sir? Because we can play with that all day. But for the record, I never admitted anything to her. Not that it didn't happen, just that he didn't admit it. I'll throw in a compilation right now of some of the most absurd moments. How about, just so we don't have to react to them. But
can you show the part where his mouth goes like this?
Do you want one of the Gen Z compilations of it's edited just of him going
Oh, no. That's diabolical. That could stay in the farthest corner of the internet away from me. But thank you for suggesting.
There's two, I think they're a little longer though, of basically him trying to make people feel bad for him and saying that like, how dare anyone try to attempt to accuse him of fabricating his childhood.
Oh, I mean, if there's two, just do like an eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Just close your eyes and pick one.
I hadn't seen this one until today because it was like, these are again all after. The whole series is about Brooke's lies. Only a couple are about his own, and they are not really admitting to them. They're just kind of like making excuses. So he wrote down notes because he's not good about talking about his feelings. And it's like, yeah, no shit. That's why you lied about your family dying. But okay. This was one of the second ones. And basically he tries to say he was in such a low place. Like there were just so many podcasts coming out and talking about it. And I don't think he's referring to like people like us. I think it's like the ones Brooke went on that were talking about it.
Right.
But I'm like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have fucking lied about your like, are you kidding? And then we'll just, here he is.
Just a reminder, I'm a musician, and
we know.
I personally have a hard time.
Not him subtly trying to get us to stream.
Talking about my feelings in the moment. So I've written something down as far as my mental health goes in the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. This is going to be a video about what my mental health has been over the last couple of years.
You just said that.
I'm not really sure how or where to start with this. I think there's one word that comes to mind, and that is paralyzing. You never know what's going to happen to you in your life, and I would have never thought 2 years ago I would have dated a girl for 3 months, and my life would have gone from being on top of the world to laying in bed every day.
Again, maybe you shouldn't have lied about all of this shit because guess what? It's eventually going to come out.
Maybe you chose the wrong fucking one, Clinton.
Right? Like
maybe
you got away with it for so long
one.
and now you just thought that was never a possibility. I'll put it in 1.5 speed because I think he talks a little slow.
But it did. I don't really want to go into details of the relationship in this video. I really just want to stick with the whole mental health aspect. I was diagnosed as a kid with major anxiety disorder and panic disorder. And my first ever video where I wrote my first ever song, which I got signed from, was even about a panic attack. I don't think a lot of people remember that, and I think this aspect of mental health is kind of brushed under the rug.
What?
While I've been going through this, you can notice by my postings on social media, Instagram, TikTok, everything, that there were long gaps where nothing was posted. The reason that occurred wasn't because I wanted to go away. It was because I was unable to function during the day and night. There were so many podcasts and so many negative comments coming from every direction that anyone who did not have access to therapy 4 to 5 days a week would have probably done away with themselves.
That's one of my favorite things that people like this say is I could put up with it. No one else could have handled this. I'm stronger than everyone else.
There is a difference between existing on the internet and minding your own business and people being hateful and disgusting. And I do think that that is wrong. And honestly, I think that people being hateful and disgusting is wrong in general. It doesn't really matter. Like, I think there's a way to conduct yourself, and a lot of people do not follow that kind of moral code on the internet. I understand it's like the Wild West. But what I will say is what he is conveniently, and he said it, I don't want to focus on the relationship. I want to talk about how it affected my mental health, that the bullshit I did got exposed. I'm surmising what he said. That is really upsetting because a lot of people will do that. They will say, the canceling I got really hurt me. All of the hate on the internet really hurt me. Well, guess what? You also really fucking hurt other people, and they dared to speak out about that, and that is why people held you accountable.
But he makes it only about him.
Yeah, it's a huge detail he's missing out on. Like, I don't like that. I find it manipulative. I don't doubt that it was not fun and that he did struggle, because reading all of that, you are a human being, but you're a human being dealing with repercussions of being a public figure who has hurt a lot of people.
And also to refer to it as paralyzing, yeah, I'm fucking sure it was paralyzing to have all of your lies that you've been saying for years all come to bite you in the ass. Yeah, I would be pretty paralyzed too. What are you gonna do? And now to be like, I was anxious, blah, blah. Okay, also it's different to be anxious and like have anxiety disorder than to like have done something and then have the repercussions make you anxious because you don't know how to deal with them. Because that seems like also what happened here.
Yeah, like I also have anxiety disorder, and if I'm not medicated, like, yeah, I do get anxious. If juice spills on the floor, like I will almost throw up, like genuinely. There is a difference between that and like if you see like cheaters, for instance, when they're presented with things, their reaction is they're obviously uncomfortable, they're obviously anxious, but like, tough titty bitch, like I don't care, like, you know what I mean? It's just
stupid games, stupid prizes. Like it's just it's unreal.
The severity of how low I was is really actually hard for me to describe. Have any of you been in a place where the furthest that you're able to walk is from the couch to the bed?
Yes.
And back?
Yeah.
If you answered yes to this, then you understand.
No.
Nope.
It's hard for me to think, breathe, eat, even speak at times. People had given up on reaching out to me because I was just never available.
Been
I
there.
don't mean unavailable as in I'm talking on the other line. I was quite literally mentally unavailable.
I can very much relate to that. I've been physically unavailable because my back hurts so bad that I literally couldn't move.
Oh, yeah. And I've been mentally unavailable. Like, people that lived in the same home with me had no access to me. Like, I was, like, enclosed in a dungeon.
Exactly. Like, but this is what he's doing, like he's always done, is trying to appeal to people's vulnerabilities and, like, things that they struggle with and being like, I'm just like you. And it's like, no, because the reason I couldn't mentally function or physically function was because of something I was dealing with chronic pain that I couldn't control. You put yourself in this situation, point blank. Like, sorry, you lied about things and then got caught and then, like, didn't know how to deal with it. And I wouldn't either, but I didn't lie about my family dying. So, like, you clearly have mental health issues because you wouldn't have done any of this, honestly, if you didn't. But, like, to then try and appeal to people and, like, make them sympathize and empathize with you because you're trying to be like, you go through it, I go through it too. No, this is not why most people have anxiety, Clinton. No. I can guarantee.
I debated ending a lot of things.
This is weird.
But I never debated ending music.
So he says that almost as if he's
God,
like,
I didn't even
like,
see that part.
Like,
or I didn't catch that
unaliving himself, but then says he was never going to end music. So I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. So ending what?
That is such a weird
that doesn't even make sense.
Weird comparison.
Those words probably piss some people off, and I hope they do. I will never stop music. I was so lucky I had a therapist, a friend, and my religion, which prevented me from giving up and honestly bluffing myself.
Bluffing?
The attempts to strip my memories from me and accuse me of a fabricated childhood is not only abuse, but just demented.
Stripped your memory? What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, if you didn't want your childhood to be picked apart, do not lie about it. Nobody tries to dig into, like, if my parents really lived in Cuba or, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, just say what happened. It's not that hard. Or don't say things. Like, I don't have to disclose any childhood trauma. He doesn't understand the reason people are touching that button over and over and over again is because he has used it to capitalize on it and make a lot of money and sign to a label with songs about people dying that did not die. Like, it is weird.
Well, and then,
what are we even on about?
The extent of his, like, his going into detail about his Australian upbringing is very vague and, like, non-specific. And it's like, what memories are people stripping you of? Like, the whole thing is so weird. Yeah. I'm like, if you had memories in Australia, that's fine. But don't lie and say that you were born there when now you're saying you weren't. But then you're also, in the same breath, being like, all the publications, I've never lied about any of it. Yes, you have. Like, we have proof. What are you talking about?
I understand not caring for someone or even the idea of dreaming about their demise. But the idea that someone would attempt to destroy another person for any reason is beyond my comprehension. Through intensive therapy over the last 2 years, but even regular therapy for the years before that, I've learned that you really just have to believe in yourself and ask for forgiveness when necessary.
Where is that?
Suffering is built into this life, and every time I get depressed, worried, anxious, frustrated, angry, or overwhelmed, I remember what I have made it through. I don't wish ill will upon anyone, but I do hope that people remember that you never know the shoes someone has walked in.
Yeah, especially when they lie about it.
I was just about to say, especially when you're saying the shoes you walked in are not the fucking shoes you walked in.
It's a different brand. And also him saying that he, I know to ask for forgiveness. When have you done that? We missed that chapter in this fucking series because you have not asked for forgiveness. You've made excuses. You've called her a liar. You've made implications that she's xenophobic. It's unreal the lengths he goes to not ask for forgiveness and acknowledge his wrongdoing.
Yeah, there is shit that you do in this life that sometimes you can't do anything but just sit there and be like, I fucked up. Even if you think you have rationale for one or two or whatever reasons, there are times where what you did was so bad that you just have to look at it and say, fuck, I fucked up. And that is his only option here. And he chose whatever the fuck this is. And it was so
unreal
stupid
that he went this route. And as Teffy said, like, if he would be just upfront and acknowledge, be like, this was so fucked up. I can't believe I did this. But anything. But that's not what he does. And now he just is like trying to get more of a sob story because the sob story he was using doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
This goes for relationships several years long, but especially.
Why especially?
Once someone poisons your thoughts and your memories, They win by removing any joy you may have had growing up.
What?
But I'm happy to report that I still have joy. So,
Not the
moving
happy
forward,
to report.
I will dedicate time and my money towards mental health.
What?
But especially cyberbullying. If you are out there suffering,
Oh
please,
my God.
please reach out for help. You matter. And to all those people who stand beside me, thank you for your patience while I have grown.
Grown from what?
Not him saying you matter. This is so weird.
It's just it's
very,
disgusting.
very bizarre.
Like, it's like we already knew he had gone off the deep end and was like, that's so weird that you would do all of this. But then to try and like finagle it to be like you didn't do anything wrong and that it's like she poisoned your thought. What the fuck are you talking about?
You poisoned everyone's thoughts with your bullshit and your lies. It was to the point that until like the 4th time we fucking covered you, I didn't even know what the fuck anybody was talking about. Like, it is literally such a convoluted, weird lie you have told people since you started dating. And guess what? All these women have decided, maybe we're not going to protect this fucking weirdo. Like, literally, people like the girl who dated you when you were 16 kept all of this quiet when she saw you coming up. Nobody wanted to say anything because it's a weird thing also to come out about. It's like, this guy killed off his whole family. Like, it's strange.
And because people recognize that means like something's weird.
Not right.
Exactly.
Yeah. The craziest part to me is like, if you're wondering, if he comes out and like really clarifies what happened to his mom, what happened to X, Y, and Z. No. He doesn't. The closest he gets, first of all, it's very notable. He does not ever touch his brother dying, which
Never.
he has been
Doesn't
on
even
record
mention
many
him.
times saying his brother died. He does not say anything about him.
Goes into detail also in past interviews about his brother, saying he didn't even cry when his brother died because he was so numb already from losing his mom and his dad.
And it's also probably because it didn't happen.
He also mentions at one point that he attended his mom's funeral via Zoom from Australia.
None of that happened. But what's interesting is the closest he got to in this series is he, again, talks about the woman that he perceived as his mom. We've kind of gone on for a long time, so can we toss to that clip?
Yeah.
I wrote something down on my notes because I'm not very good with speaking about my feelings in the moment. This video is kind of difficult for me for a couple of reasons. One is because I have to relive childhood trauma in detail. And the second is because I'm not here of my choosing. I don't feel that someone should be pressured to talk even if they're in the public eye, but because an ex-girlfriend that I dated for 3 months a couple of years ago decided to start beating a drum after we broke up, that drum has become so loud that I feel that I have to answer it now. I don't know if any of you can imagine what it feels like to be a private person, which I am, and have to answer questions about every single family member, every single friend, every single like, dislike that you've ever experienced, but it's really unpleasant.
Well, let me stop you right there, Clinton. People don't want to know about every single family member and no, they just want to know about the ones that you said died that very clearly didn't. Because, you know, that's kind of a big thing to lie about. Also, spoiler alert, he doesn't go into great detail reliving childhood trauma. As usual, he keeps it nice and vague, so he doesn't actually have to explain anything because none of it actually makes sense. But anyway, carry on, Clinton.
And the reason why it's unpleasant is because somebody is sitting around telling you everything that you remember is a lie. I want you guys to really sit and think about how horrible it would be for anyone to do that. But I will do my best and give a description of my childhood. First and foremost, I'm not doing this for approval. I'm really just doing this so someone can finally tell the truth. And that someone would be me because it's my life and no one else's. At the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, I received a DM from a random stranger telling me that my father had died of lung cancer. I hadn't spoken to him for quite a while because he was a fucking asshole. Saying that, he was still my dad. And as anyone with a dysfunctional family knows, even when you don't understand family, you so desperately want to make sense of it. And it just so happens, though, that I couldn't make sense of it and did what I always do and pretended that it didn't exist. A few months later, I received a phone call from my best friend, the daughter of a really amazing woman I met when I was traveling Europe. She had an accident and we all thought everything was going to be okay. My best friend was around my age and thought that I should know because, I mean, we were just family at that point. I really didn't think anything of it, to be honest. And then a short time later, I got a phone call that she had passed away. Once again, I went into denial. I really just didn't do well with loss. I moved so much as a kid that I would disregard any kind of sadness over loss because it was pretty much the norm. Since so many people have told me she didn't exist, I'd like to take a moment and tell you a bit about her because she was fucking awesome. You know, when you feel like you're kind of just floating in life and nobody gives a shit about you, and then someone randomly comes up to you and says that you matter, and you kind of just go limp because you really needed to hear it in that specific moment. This woman showed up. This woman was so loving and so caring towards me. And kind of funny because we sort of just hit it off one day at a park randomly. And from that, we built a relationship. And as I said earlier, she had 2 children around my age. And I think that's why she kind of knew where I was at mentally, just looking at me and not even knowing me. And for the year that I knew her, she changed the way I thought about family. And it was just one of those magical moments, those spiritual moments that I didn't believe back then. Now I do. When you meet someone and you feel like you've known them your whole life.
So I'm not going to sit here and say that this woman completely didn't exist. Maybe she did. Maybe he did meet this nice woman in a park. But as usual, there's a few discrepancies. The main one being, here, first, let's refer back to the note, the handwritten one, that he provided to his viewers, where he explained this entire mum situation the first time around. The caption is, "The last I'm going to say on this." And I think he wishes it was the last time he had to speak on it, but here we are. Anyway, in this note, you might remember that this note was written from a place of anger, it seemed like, where it was like, how dare you make me discuss this traumatic thing in my life? And he used it as a way to basically attack anyone that questioned anything about his life, even though none of it made any sense. He says, "I feel so sad, angry, frustrated, and bewildered at some of the people in my life, and even outside of my life, who have assumed that they know me and my story. So much so that they have threatened me with some of the made-up gotcha moments and never let me process my grief from the last couple of years. It is truly pathetic." Could think of some other things that are truly pathetic, Clinton, but I digress. "My loss is just that, my loss. Not for anyone to define, label, or judge, but they still are. So unfortunately, here I am, having to post to explain feelings and events that I am still coming to terms with and dealing with. When I lost my mum, it was my mum. I have been estranged from my biological family for years. This amazing woman who has my mom," I'm assuming he meant was my mom. It's a little strange typos when you're writing, but anyway. "This amazing woman who has my mum was the one who showed me love, protection, and guidance over my lifetime." That is the key here. Over my lifetime. Now let's go back to this video where he says he knew her for, how long was it?
For the year that I knew her, she changed the way I thought about family.
Oh yes, 1 year. Then he goes on to say that as most people who have unique family situations and even adopted people will understand, most people just assume everything must be biological. After I lost my mom, I felt the way anyone would. Confused, lost, and pissed off that I was not able to be there. I was on a fucking Zoom watching a funeral, for fuck's sake. I didn't feel it was anyone's business to go deeper than that. I lost my mum, mine. And that's what mattered. It is still what matters, and I will continue to honor her image and privacy. So those of you who get it, who are estranged from your family, thank you. To my fans who I consider family, who have stuck by me, I love you with all my heart. Those of you who don't get it, maybe one day you will. And he also makes it clear at the very end, very similar to one of his things with Brooke, where he says, "For the record," and you think maybe he's going to say something of actual value, but instead he says, "And for the record, I'm not apologizing. I'm expressing." Okay. Basically, the takeaway here is he was very frustrated to have to ever explain any of this. And that's probably because He doesn't know how to explain it because the story changes every single time he tells it. Did he know her for a lifetime? Did he know her for a year? I'm confused. And another example of him not really being able to keep all the details straight. In his statement to Rolling Stone after Brooke first put out her series, the rep says that the mother he referred to in the interview with Sang was actually a very special mother-like figure in his teenage years who sadly passed. Not his biological mother, as was assumed. Which, first of all, I went over this last time, but assumed is crazy because he literally says that it was his mom, who he was also estranged from because of her religion and all this stuff. So that's bullshit. But mother-like figure in his teenage years is interesting because she died in 2021. And he said he had only known her a year. So that would imply he met her in 2020. He was not a teenager in 2020. He was 21 years old. So confused how this is a woman he's known for a year, or was it a mother-like figure in his teenage years, or was it this mother-like figure that offered guidance over his lifetime? A lot of different time frames here. Then again, I think we've learned that he's not that great with time. So anyway, I don't know what went on in Clinton's family life, but I do know that something is off here, and he's full of shit.
I never spoke about her because I honestly didn't think I had to. I'm sure all of you guys have people you meet and don't feel the need to announce it. But it's actually kind of nice to be open about it and tell you about her. It's profound when people have affected you and inspired you in a really good way, and you kind of just hold them close, and that was this one. I always kind of felt shame about it, though. My mom was a pastor, and our household was extremely religious and godly, and I just felt really weird saying to anyone that I cared for this person as much as my mom, or that I viewed her in the same exact light. And I never said it to anyone because it really was no one's business. And on top of that, there was a belief in my heart that no one would get it or understand. And when people would ask, like, why are you so upset, or who passed away, I just started telling them that it was my mom. Because my mom was absent for most of my life, and in some crazy way, it just sort of fit, and that she was the one that passed away. This is awful, I know. So I had shame about this motherly figure, and then I had shame about my mom. It's fucking horrible when I look back on it. And let me say, if you have judgment on me and tell me that that was crazy, I would agree. But again, it's just the way I handled loss by not handling it. I don't know what else to say about it. It wasn't pathological lying like some people have said. I was a punk kid who gave a dumb answer on a podcast when he was working with anxiety disorder and had no business being on it until he was good with all the feelings that he was having. I guess management fucked up that day, but, I'll take responsibility, and I fucked up.
The nerve he has to suggest that this was a mistake that management made. He's basically like, I guess I'll take the responsibility for their bad PR call. Sir, I can guarantee they did not tell you to kill off your family as a marketing move. You can't convince me that happened. So this is insane.
This brings me to another part of this video that I would really, really like to stress. I got into making music because it was a way for me to try to understand myself. For the last couple of years, I've struggled to make any music because I felt that it would be judged and then torn apart. And this overwhelmed me. I am so confused at this world that we live in, where someone can just take someone's life without facts or proof and tell the world some made up stuff, which is damaging and hurtful. Yes, it's true. I started this shit from the podcast that I was on, but it all came out whack because I just didn't have the skills to process any emotions. I didn't. I spent money like it was war. I dated girls and cheated on them. I loved people only to let them go and have them question if I really did. I did a lot of things that I don't do anymore, and for that I'm grateful. I've said all that I will say in regards to my family and my childhood. For the first 22 years of my life, I disconnected from my family and sort of lost my way because of their dysfunction. This drama with my ex-girlfriend has forced me to see that if I didn't change, I would end up just like them and just like her if I didn't make a change. So as you can see, I've never once said a bad word about my ex-girlfriend. I have since apologized to my family for my behavior and have tried to mourn my dad and a mom to me. I'm trying to love myself and I'm slowly getting there. And for those who want to perpetuate the lies and try to manipulate by saying damaging statements without proof, I hope you find more important things in this world to be concerned about rather than my life and me. But I look forward to sharing my emotions in my songs with my supporters that can appreciate where I'm at and have empathy towards it. It honestly feels good to have closure on the subject for me. So, sending love to all.
All the family stuff aside, I did want to leave you with this fun answer he put in an interview. When asked in 2020, what advice can you give to other young artists who want to pursue a career in music? And Clinton literally says, I think just be real. Oh, okay. You first, Clinton.
That's fucking weird. Like, first of all, you were like not comfortable telling people you were close to this woman who you knew for a year. Is that because maybe you either weren't close to her and they would have been like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's just very
also
weird.
He introduces her as being his one of his best friend's moms, but then says that they met in a park, which I'm like, I guess you could have met her in a park, but if they've only known each other a year, he's like an adult. Why would he be in a park? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Literally, it makes no sense. But that is the closest that he gets to acknowledging the fact that he very much told Brooke, and she says, no, it was his biological mom he was talking about. It was not another mom figure, because again, like I've said, I have a stepdad. You say those details in stories. You know what I mean? You're like, hey, she wasn't my biological mom. I never got along with her, but she was like a mother to me. And that fact that he never did that to Brooke, but also he never did that in any of the stories or podcasts. In interviews. Yeah, no. He very much said, my mom died.
Yeah, and then he talks about the religion, losing her to religion, and that then she died, so he combines them. He absolutely is talking about the same person. Mm-hmm. But then in his explanation here, he admits to lumping those together because it was just easier.
Yeah, bullshit. But then also,
what the fuck are you talking about?
He gets on Brooke and is like, sometimes you say my dad died, sometimes you say he didn't die. Which one is it, basically? I don't know, motherfucker. Maybe she's confused because you literally have killed off and then unkilled off your family before. That girl who went on a few dates with you said you killed off your brother, then he was not dead, then you killed him off again. So it is literally insane that he would sit there and be like, which one is it, Brooke? Keep your story straight. You first, bitch. Like, it's so insulting.
And then in that video, he talks about the family dying, but then he doesn't talk about him saying that. It's just how Brooke told people.
Exactly. He circles it around that versus how he built his entire career off of his family dying and how he made it a plot point in his pity story.
But he goes through his fucking song catalog being like, this isn't about my family. This isn't about my family. And it's like, oh my God, one song was too many if they didn't fucking die. Like, are you kidding?
A fun fact, just to say really quick, we're almost done, I swear. The one that I really liked was the Mel's Diner one, because Brooke said that it was 4 hours that they were at Mel's Diner. He showed the receipts. It was like 2 hours, I think, almost. And
Yeah.
someone commented, is like, all you're proving is that it feels like 4 hours when it was really one when someone's with you.
I was gonna say, how many clips have we watched? It feels like hours.
I
but it
feel
was
like
only
I've
a
been
few
here for
minutes.
12
So, like,
years. Yeah, no, it makes sense. You're unbearable.
it's one thing to be like, you can be mad that Brooke exposed you and like made everyone aware of this. But you can't be like, you did that. Like, she wouldn't have anything to expose if you didn't fucking lie the entire relationship, which who cares how fucking long it was? If I dated a guy for a week and he lied about his family dying,
I would be pissed.
That would still be weird.
Are you kidding
yeah,
me?
like, oh my God.
If I went on one date and a guy, I would have made 7 story times on it. Please, bitch. Like, I can't. I don't know if it's him that sent me into this full body sweat or if it's the room, but I need to go.
Probably a combo. Anyway, I'll probably have scattered in some clips so you get more of it, because if we went through everyone, we would literally be here for 8 hours.
Oh my God, we didn't even get to the Google Calendar.
I'll toss to the clip of it, but I just have a takeaway that Brooke brings up in one of her videos afterwards. So here's the clip.
Who did I date, not marry? Lie number 2.
So we are technically in a long distance relationship, but we never separate. So we are never separating. And like I said, we spent every single second together. We literally went on our first date and never separated.
So when you were with him every day,
So it was just every day, like
in the
watching
studio.
him work every day. Yeah, actively.
Wait, but you're together every day. How does that happen?
For some reason, she has said that we were together every single second of every single day. That is not true. We weren't. I'm going to show you all the days that we saw each other from our first date to when we broke up. I looked through every single one of our texts and photos, and I've put all the days that we saw each other on a Google Calendar. Also, I can show you every text and photo of when we were together in person, but I cannot be asked to make a 12-minute video on this subject.
Not him saying he can't be asked to make a 12-minute video on this subject when he's literally in the midst of making a 30-part series.
Here is the first month from when we had our first date. I've labeled it B for every time we saw each other. Yellow is for when we saw each other either during the day or just at night. And red is for when we spent the night together.
Brooke actually responds to this aspect of it because, first of all, he made a fucking color-coded calendar and then was just like, trust me, I'm not lying. This is totally accurate. When it's like, sir, you were willing to kill off 3 of your immediate family members. Why would we believe you for this? Like, nice try. Anyway, Brooke points out, though, he specifies that yellow is for if they just like hung out during the day or at night, but then red is for when they spent the night together, aka slept over. And, you know, typically when one spends the night, that usually means they're there the next morning, which is typically, you know, a new day. With that in mind, it is a bit interesting to see how many single red days are marked on his color-coded calendar. Because for the red ones, wouldn't it automatically be 2? Anyway, I expected he was gonna like try and fudge this a little and make it seem like, oh, we didn't spend that much time together, which he did. He ends up calculating, using Clinton math apparently, that they had hung out 64 of those 125 days.
So from our first date to when we broke up, it was a total of 125 days. Out of 125 days, we spent 64 days together, which is essentially half. So we did not spend every single day together. And we did separate for more than half the time that we knew each other.
I stress the 125 days because how many months would you say that is? Because, you know, I'm no mathematician, but I'm pretty sure that 125 days equals 4 months, which is interesting just because of how much he stresses they only dated 3. Because, like, he definitely tells us that multiple times. Oh, and by the way, I did my own calculations, and if you add in the, other half of the spending the night, so if we added a day to all of his single day versions of those, that ends up being a little more than 64 out of 125 days. You actually get 91 out of 125. Quite a bit when you consider it was 4 months, and that means they essentially spent 3 of those months together. The way I would just completely lose my mind if I dated a guy for 4 months, spent 3 of those months with him, got so close, and then he told everyone like, no, we only dated 3 months. We didn't spend that much time together. He is, as Jesse would say, diabolical. First of all, the time he spent to do this already is like, are you joking?
Too much.
What the fuck? And it's also very much like, well, just trust me, bro.
Literally texting Lily, I'm like, is 17 days, is that not like the majority of a month? That's a lot of fucking days to be around someone. Are you absolutely crazy?
But then when you take into account that there's more days that he just was like, whoops, nope, that doesn't count. Like,
it's insane. Absolutely
What?
insane.
You hung out every day.
You cannot color code things and just be like, evidence. Just like you can't type all caps on a Microsoft Word thing and be
1999,
like, there it is.
Philippines.
That's not how evidence works. Like, yes, you can maybe use people's words against them or be like, this is what they said here, this is what they said there. And some of it could be anecdotal evidence. You can just sit there and talk to us about your experience, which is what Brooke has done most of the time. She didn't show proof. Another thing, oh my God, there's so much here. But basically, he showed a note thing, like a notes app, basically how she was having a list of things that she could expose him for that were half as bad as things that he did to her.
No, she did not care about my mental health, which is totally fine. Just don't lie about it. Her only concern was threatening and manipulating me a month after our relationship in October. This was completely premeditated, and I will show you proof right now. This is the first text. This is the second text. I'm going to show you the note now. This is the list that she made and sent to me. Things I could do to Clinton that wouldn't be half as bad as what he did to me.
And what's crazy is that he brought this into it. He didn't even show the full notes app, but he's like, can you believe basically she fucking did this? And then she shows the full notes app and like he made her cry every time they didn't want, like she didn't want to have sex. And a bunch of worse shit that I'm like, Clinton, you're dumb. Like, did you even read that notes app? Like, we're going to read that and be horrified for her because God knows what she had to experience with you.
Oh, this is about to be my favorite part because I genuinely cannot believe that he was brave enough to post this screenshot himself. I have access to the full note, and you know what? We're gonna go through it together. Reminder, he just posted this on purpose. Like, did you read it, Clinton? Titled the note, Things I Could Do to Clinton That Wouldn't Be Half as Bad as What He Did to Me. Okay? Starting with telling the whole world his family is alive. Destroy his career and personal relationships the way he destroyed my life. Leak all of his songs. Tell people that he made me cry every single time that I didn't want to have sex with him. Every single time. Tell the truth about why he canceled half of his tour. Haven't done that. Tell people about the time I said I wanted to off myself and he told me, you won't. And posted the suicide hotline days later on his Instagram story, like as like a little something for his fans. Tell everyone he's faking his Australian accent. Talk about the time I found a literal sex tape on his phone, okay, from the night before. All right? And he started a fight with me 10 minutes later for not introducing him to a fan who came up to us in New York. Imagine that. He's just swiping through his camera roll and I see that he has a sex tape from the night before I had flown in, okay? Of him. And he had the nerve to start a fight with me because a fan came up to me on the street and I said, oh, like, I'm just here with my friends. And he had convinced me that that sex tape wasn't him. It was his friend, which, weird as fuck, but whatever. Next up is talk about the time he tried to kick me out in the middle of the night in a city I don't live in for asking him if he was cheating on me. He was cheating on me. The time he threatened to break up with me over being in the same room as a man I used to see while he was simultaneously asking girls on Instagram to come to his hotel and have sex with him. Talk about how he tried to cheat on his ex with me and lied about it. You guys know about this one. Talk about the way that he swore he graduated from pre-med and got accepted to Oxford. But he doesn't know where babies came from. He's literally so fucking unbelievably dumb. You guys know this one, the time he pretended it was his mom's birthday in the middle of dinner and cried in my arms all night. It literally was not her birthday, and she also did not die. Tell people about the imaginary fortune he made up for literally no fucking reason. The time he told me he did not believe in mental illness and you can literally change your mind when his entire brand revolves around mental health. He literally told me, my mom is an addict, he told her she could stop at any time. I nearly made him drop me off on the side of the road. I could tell everyone that the first time he cheated on me was only 48 hours after we started dating officially. What about that? I could point out how he was accusing me of being a gaslighter, manipulator our entire relationship when, like, hello, the call's coming from inside the house. I could talk about how he would not post me on Instagram because he knew that girls would DM me with stories. You guys, I mean, he posted this in one of his screenshots himself. He would not, like, if I were to go and watch him perform, he would repost Tana, he would repost Ari, he would repost all my friends, never me, because he knew that there would be girls who would come forward and say, hey, that's crazy, he has a girlfriend? I could talk about all the times he cried and pouted like a fucking baby because I would call him insecure, because he was constantly accusing me of cheating, which is what, as we know, a cheater does, and he was cheating on me the entire time. I could make sure no woman in her right mind ever gives him a chance to do the same thing to her, okay? I stand behind that. That's what I'm doing now. Point out how he has genuinely never showed any remorse for any of it, and you can see that in his videos. Are you kidding me? He's sitting there like, she's a liar. Clinton. Talk about the time I waited weeks for an in-person conversation and he stood me up to see Fred again, okay? And that's how his music ended up so, you know. The time he literally called the cops on me and told them that I was gonna off myself, which, I mean, in retrospect is like kind of a slay, like thanks for that. Flew a new girl out 2 weeks after asking me to get back together, and he told her the most disgusting, horrible lies about me that she just obviously sent straight to me, and I went ahead and got her right back to where she came from. Or I could talk about how he literally likes high school aged girls. Mind you, that has since been proven. Left this part of the note out, okay? This was the part where I said the things that I do instead. I said I protect him and his reputation even though he literally does not give a fuck if I live or die. I make vague TikToks to hold me over, okay? Because you know me, you guys. I can't, I'm a yapper. I pretend for my own self that he loved me for real and that our relationship was real so that I don't again. And I pretend that he is not a horrible, lying, narcissistic sociopath so that I, again, don't off myself. Okay?
I just think a lot of the things he showed was like anti-evidence, whatever we call it,
reverse receipts.
Yeah, no, for sure. But also, it does piss me off when people do this because if you're someone that's on the internet and you're fucking with people and those people also happen to be on the internet, guess what? If they tell you like, motherfucker, you know what I could say about you? It's not that they're like being some crazy clout goblin. It's just like, fuck you. Any human being would defend themselves with their platform. And I think people don't get that. It's not always a clout grab. Sometimes it's like, think about what you're doing. You also have a platform. Like, what is this? It's just weird. Everything he says is exhausting. I cannot imagine dating this thing. It is it's too much.
I bless all of the girls that have come
charity
forward,
work.
Like,
they should be able to write that off on their taxes.
Truly.
Anyway, we could go on for 5 million years about Clinton Kane. I am profusely sweating. I have a very brief.
I am too.
We love the internet that ties this in, so we could just go with that. I think I'm literally about to faint again for the second time today.
Oh my gosh.
What's the male equivalent to eyebrow blindness or blush blindness for girls?
I think men have the fact that their actions affect people around them blindness.
Period.
That's true. I agree with that. Because that's the thing is like he doesn't acknowledge that at all.
Yeah, at all. When I first heard that, like the previous one that she stitched, I was just like, oh, like just fucking with people blindness, like being the worst blindness. Like those are all the thoughts racing through my head. And then she said that, I was like, yeah, it's true.
Oh my God. That makes me think of the asshole we covered 2 episodes. What's it, Taylor, whatever, from the Kelsey BuzzFeed cheating thing.
You mean baby?
This is one of those, if I had to see it, you guys have to see it.
Oh, hell no. What the hell? After everything we've been through in this episode. You freaking bitch. Oh no. Why would you show that? You sick bitch.
But that bugged the shit out of me the whole time I was watching. I'm like, okay, stop breathing.
Stop breathing. No, but like when he huffed in the beginning, he did, or not huffed, I should say, he puffed.
He's so dramatic.
No, but like it felt like I could catch the waft. Like it just felt like he was just like,
you could smell his breath from here for sure.
Please, sir. We need to leave.
That's
we
really
have to go.
Yeah,
this
okay.
is too much. Anyway, if you made it to the end, thank you. You're a soldier. And as always, we hope you have a great weekend. And we'll see you on we'll see you on Monday. I forget what day it is every day. Bye.
Cheers.